So financial freedom is something that I think that most people can obtain if they really want to go for it. I also believe there's some people that don't belong in entrepreneurship.
Sure.
And that's okay too. You know, you may want to be a worker bee and you may want to just go in at 9:30 and leave at 4:30, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't look down on you.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Cheers, Mr. Robbins.
Feels awkward sitting over here.
Welcome to the new set of Fireside. For those of you listening, tuning in today, it's a really special occasion. Today marks episode 100 of Fireside that you started, a little over 2.5 years ago?
Been a long journey.
Hell of a journey. You and I were talking a couple weeks ago on how to commemorate it, and I had suggested to you, we get snippets along the way, a little wisdom from you, but nobody actually gets to hear the full story about Ryan. And I really wanted to dive deep into that and spend some time having people get to know you the way that I've come to know you over time. Because there's what you see on the outside and then there's what's in the inside. And my goal today is to kind of help uncover that. And you've spent the last 2.5 years building this ecosystem of Fireside, selflessly helping business owners throughout Monmouth and Ocean County and even further than that. Your reach is probably bigger than any of us know. And you constantly give. So in the spirit of what you do for everybody else, I think we should do the same for you. And I feel really privileged to be the chosen one or the one most outspoken to help facilitate this. But really excited to see what we come up with. Because Chris is an agenda-driven corporate guy, we're going to have a threefold agenda tonight. We're going to talk about young Ryan and the roots of where you are to how you got where you are today. We're going to spend some time talking about your vision and this thing you've built behind the pit and Fireside. And then we're going to talk probably our new favorite segment, right? A little bit of current events, a little bit of politics. And I really want to spend some time on the tremendous work that you, Derek from SC Arms, Big Matty, Patriot Payments, Dylan, and Trevor from Trevor West Realty just did with your efforts down North Carolina over the past couple weeks to raise a tremendous amount of money and make a big impact. I want to save that for last because I want to leave that lasting impression on folks, and also hopefully to kind of keep that ball rolling because it seems like these things are only continuing to come. And I think one of the things you walked away with is your desire to help in that vein too. So before we really get rolling, the one thing that I'm curious about is, because you look super uncomfortable and I've been in that chair, what's it feel like to be on that side of the stage?
I feel like I want to be vulnerable enough to let people know who I really am, but I also am instinctively a killer, and I want people to know what I'm after and what I'm really about. And I want to make sure that we do a good job of portraying that message to the people that are on the outside circle. Recently, we were just down in North Carolina, as you referenced. And the last night, we drove into Charlotte because there was no hotels for 150 miles. Between the evacuation of Florida and what happened in Western North Carolina, as you can imagine, there was very limited hotels. And we have a client with Patriot Payments and Dylan, Liberty Flooring, this guy Jimmy, out in Charlotte. So he met us at Capitol Grill for dinner the last night. And he got there and he goes, "Ryan, you're so angry. Why are you so angry? Who are you mad at?"
Bad Ryan.
"Why do you think people are like coming for you?" I said, "Because they are, Jimmy. It's just localized. You don't know it." And I'm passionate. And my passion sometimes could be mislabeled as anger. And I don't know, maybe a bit of it is anger. I've gone through every bit of my trauma in my life, and I still re-chew on that trauma, and I've let it go. But I'm determined to not literally or figuratively kill people, but I'm on a fucking mission to kill it and help so many others kill it. And when people come at me and say false things about me or expose flaws I do have, because we're all imperfect, I'm going to come get you. And he did a really good job of kind of giving me a visual, like, "Hey, Ryan, that circle's here, but you influence this many people out here. People from Florida watch you, Texas, my friends, all around the country. And, don't give oxygen to that shit."
Yeah.
And he's right. So I want to make sure that I do a good job of fully laying out my vision, my story, who I am, why I am the way I am, and where we're going.
I love it. So we see on social media the portrayal of who you are today. And I think you do a great job sharing some of your personal life, sharing some business, sharing some nuggets, and really elevating everybody around you. And I think if you're the outsider looking in, you're not somebody who's close in your friend circle. You know, we see there's this successful guy, Ryan. He's outspoken. You know, he's unapologetically himself. He loves America. He loves small business. I think he works in finance. I think he does like 9 other businesses he's affiliated with. I think he like didn't go to college and may or may not have had like a troubled path getting to where he is today. What was young Ryan like? Tell us about little Ryan.
How little?
I don't know. Where did it start? Well, we know where it started, but like, where's the most relevant start to the story?
I think young Ryan, to not spend a ton of time, I think young Ryan was very loving, very hyper, very misunderstood back then. I remember calling my friends at like 6:30 in the morning, 920-1072. It was Anthony Giator's phone number, the kid that lived behind me. And I'd call him at like 7:30 in the morning. And Anthony was really my only friend back then that was like ready to also play early. And at times that personality was, again, misunderstood at a young age, and I felt kind of outcasted. My parents didn't have a ton of money, although we had clothes on our back and we always ate. Obviously, I was well fed. I had a troubled school path. I did have a lot of friends. I don't want to say I didn't have friends. I had a lot of friends. But I never felt like the man. And I always felt that I knew more than people. I paid attention more than people. And I was like, you people are all doubting on me. Maybe my words weren't great. And I wasn't, smart in school. Smart, per them, right? The people who created the education system. And I was just always driven to succeed, and I always had this thing in me, I'm coming for bad guys, coming for the bullies.
It's interesting, right? Sometimes those things that when you're growing up and they're trying to fit you into this box, it end up being the thing that holds you back from achieving the highest levels of that box that they want you to be in. End up being the thing that drives most of your success. And as somebody today that I've got 3 boys, I feel like I'm growing up in a frat house, although I've never been in one, right? You can start to see that inside each of them. If there's like a little bit of fight, there's a little bit of get after it. And like, I don't know that I really want to tame that, because I know when you get outside of that box, that's generally one of the things that's the biggest contributor to your success. So if I were to look back 20 years, 30 years and see young Ryan who can't sit still at his desk, I'm like, it's probably a kid that's going somewhere.
So we sit at
How
dinner.
do we redirect that?
We sit at dinner. I love Trevor West. I really do love my
Salt
brother.
of the earth guy.
Yeah, I could tear up. I love him like a fucking brother. He's so good to me. I have this house. My wife and I have this house because of Trevor. He didn't take a commission on it. And not because I didn't want to pay him. It was because the guy, selling it had his own dealings going on in his back end. And as we're sitting there, he said to Jimmy, I gotta jump in. Ryan's misunderstood. Ryan's somebody that, he is a guy that, what did we just say? I want to say this right. What did you exactly ask me? Because I want to answer it properly.
I just asked you, tell me about young Ryan. And then we were talking about growing up, the school system, and the send your kid off to be somebody else's problem for 8 hours, needs to go in a box.
Yeah. So he said, Ryan punched his way here. And I did. And I always question that. It's it's this outside world telling me that I gotta behave. Motherfuckers, I got here because I punched here. So don't fucking tell me what I gotta do. When you make less than me, your marriage sucks worse than mine, your kids, in my personal opinion, aren't gonna be as successful as my kids. And I'm not saying Ryan's the best and knows all. But it's how I know how I got here. It's how I got here. And I've constantly there's a part of a Drake song where he's like, I always think I know who I am until I come and hang out with you, and then you tell me I'm doing it wrong, and then I got to get back to me for success. And I'm misquoting the song, but that's what always constantly seems to be going on in my life. But I punched to where I am. That's what helped me swim upstream. And I think the people I punch at that get close to me realize my heart, and they're like, no, Ryan's misunderstood. So I believe that if you got that fire in your belly, and I got it every day when I wake up, it's not anger. It's intensity. It's different.
100%.
Anger is like you do something wrong to my family and I'm coming for you. That's anger, right? That may be emotion, and you need to learn how to control that.
And there's a place for it.
There's a place for it. It needs to be dialed back at times, and trust me, I dial it back. Trust me, if I wanted to go the way I want to go at all times, I don't know if anybody would follow me. But I'm just a puncher, and I don't think it ever fully goes away. It doesn't mean I'm not happy. Doesn't mean I don't have great goals. Doesn't mean I'm not enjoying this beautiful house I'm in, and my family, and the trips we take, and my friends like you and Big Maddie and everybody I'm thankful for. But, you know, I had to punch my way out of where I was, you know, the box I was put in young, and that's what got me here. It doesn't mean I won't mature and grow, but like I think at certain aspects of my life, I'll always punch.
It's in your nature.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we share a similar ethos in how we go about life. And it's like, I'm always proud, but I'm never satisfied. I'm always going for that next thing. And
I don't know if
we're
it's good or
married
bad.
to lovely women that kind of get it and tolerate us. I can imagine it could be very challenging at times, but it's a character trait. And I think it's a very common character trait among people that are successful.
You mean like when you buy a Porsche and you're already ready for a new Porsche?
Yeah, the new one's gonna be awesome too.
Yeah, it is. Well, I bought this house and I'm like, I think I need, 20
Yeah,
years.
I need a second level on the garage. I need a new basement, and
I need
I
a
need
wall.
more square footage, right? I need to build a wall, keep out the Venezuelans.
I'm also learned to be grateful though,
Yeah, of course.
and I am. I mean, I'm able to go down to North Carolina and help these people. We don't need to get into it, but like right this second, but like I did that because like I'm good.
Yeah.
I got business going on. I have things moving.
So it's funny, right? I was talking to Pops this morning, and he's like, hey, man, he's like, I saw everything that Ryan and those guys did down in North Carolina. He's like, that's really, really cool that they did that and they took the time to do it. He's like, but like knowing how like I grew up in business and like the structure that was involved, he's like, I think the way you guys are just able to pick up and move is really cool and it's really special. And my dad's one of those guys that like he grew up, he'd be at his desk at 7 o'clock, he'd leave at 7 o'clock, and God forbid you miss a day of work during a blizzard, like the world's gonna end.
Yeah, he was old school working.
And now he sees the way that we run and like a series of sprints in different directions, and you go towards that next thing, and it's like, I kind of get it. And almost like a little like, shit, I want to do that too.
Yeah, jealousy a little bit,
Right?
like in a good way.
But it's cool. And for me, you know, as his son, it's validation because everything's always met with like appreciation and then a little judgment that your dad should have over you. Like, are you doing the right thing? And then he sees somebody else that's doing well do it. And he's like, all right, maybe this is cool.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just how kids roll these days. You know, but your story, it's one that you share a commonality with some very, very successful people out there, right? And that the most successful people in business don't seem to be the ones that had it all handed to them. They don't seem to be the people that grew up as the trust fund kids, just executed on all fronts. There's a few of those, right? Trump seemed to be doing great as a family, right? But I think they're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, Hunter Biden's doing well too.
Most of them, like Hunter, tend to screw it up along the way. And the best stories are marked with, you know, some degree of struggle, some degree of adversity. And I think one of the best nuggets that I'd love to pull out of you is like, how do you think that struggle or that adversity has shaped where you are today? Maybe your perspective and how you approach people, how you approach business, relationships. Like there's something in there that I think would be a good takeaway. Okay.
I think that struggle gives you, you know, when you're knocked down young and you keep punching and you keep moving forward and you keep striving for that end goal that you have in your mind that I've always had for myself, which was I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to live however I want. I'm going to dress like a dirtbag, white trash dude, and still help people worth $100 million. And like these things have always been in my head, and people have always think that I'm just like pie in the sky guy, like, you know, stupid dreams. No, you all have limiting beliefs. I've always believed that in me. And because of the struggle I went through, I have the ability to let things like that bounce off of me like a metal bat hitting concrete. You know, for the most part, I really don't give a fuck. The only time I care and my feelings are hurt is when someone closest to me who really knows my heart flips on me.
Yeah.
And usually I find that is because I level up and they start to look at themselves in the mirror and realize they can't do that. And that is upsetting for two reasons. Number one, that they're mad at me that I did that, even though that they knew that was my goal the whole time. Maybe they just didn't really believe I was going to do it. And number two, because I believe it for them. So having those struggles allows me to be successful. When you grow up like Hunter Biden and you're a trust fund baby and everything's handed to you and you get away from the cops and you get away from school getting in trouble and you're constantly handed everything, you're an enabled, you know, soft person.
Right.
And when you hit real adversity in life, you're like, no, I hit adversity and I'm like, this sucks. I don't want this right now. I'm going to smash this.
Well, there's something to be learned sometimes from consequence. Like, consequence doesn't feel good, but there's always a learning experience that comes with that. And if you're Hunter, you've never had a consequence. It's all just gone away.
Yep.
So you've never been forced to learn. You've just been enabled.
Yes.
So I agree. So to go from where you were, kid in Bricktown, challenging in school, you went to like several special programs, didn't go to college, which is probably the best investment you could have avoided, right?
I don't think they would have took me.
Probably not. Brookdale maybe, I don't know. But that place was hard too, I guess. It's not been a straight line, right? And as you're growing businesses, you're really building an airplane as you're trying to fly it. And there's lots of failures, there's lots of setbacks, there's lots of like, oh shit moments where you've down to your last dollar, your back's against the wall. What's been like the craziest loss or the biggest difficult situation that you've had to go through? And like, tell us a little bit about what that situation was, but more importantly, what did you learn from it? And how does that carry through to today, 38 years old, living the life you are?
I think it's multiple. There's
We got nothing but time. I'm going for a marathon podcast here, dude.
Yeah, I think, an early on, not so big loss, but it was a big loss in my head at the time, was sitting there and watching all my friends walk for high school and thinking less of myself.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
You're sitting there and you're seeing all your friends are going to college and their car is painted and they, the girls have their flowers on it and everybody's going and walking at graduation. And these are all the kids that I went to school with until junior year when I was kicked out. And at that point, you're thinking less of yourself, and statistically, you're supposed to go down this path of, loserville, for lack of a better term. Instead, that allowed me to say, you're gonna figure it out, go do it, and I did. But that was a big loss at the time,
Right.
to me, right? So someone else can go through all of this hardship in life, and one minor thing happens, and someone like me who's been through a lot going like, dude, pick your pants up, bro. That's nothing. Not a big deal. Move forward. We all have failures. Kobe failed. Jordan failed. Tom Brady failed. A lot of people failed who are big-time champions, and they've done some amazing things in life.
Yeah.
So that was one minor one, young, but it was big to me at the time.
Isn't it crazy how when these things happen to you, whether you're young or old, it's the biggest thing in your life at that moment and nothing else matters. And then you zoom back out into the macro and you look at it and you're like, there's a blip on the radar, we got through it.
Yeah,
you think there's some maturity that comes with navigating those types of things?
Yeah, you get through them faster. You chuck it out. Not suppress it, because I eat it. I eat it and I chew on it and I talk to Kelly about it and Matt about it and you about it and Trevor about it and Dami about it and my parents about it and my
You
father.
kind of developed a system to deal with it.
Yeah, I've created guardrails for myself, and I have a trusted group of people that's super tight-knit, and that's going to keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter, because as I grow and you have people reaching at you and throwing darts at you, you got to keep that circle tight, because if you start letting too much influence into your brain that is not somebody who has good intention for you, they have their own agenda, and they may not actually have a malicious agenda for you, but they may have their own agenda with you, you can start to question who you are. And when I'm somebody who questions and I self-reflect so much, sometimes that intel could be almost too much bad intel if you're around the wrong people. So that's been a big help to me to have the right guardrails in place.
Right.
For everything: drinking, smoking pot, work, the gym, diet, life, women, everything. I have guardrails for everything, and I have this moral and ethic code, and I put myself around the most, call it 5 or 10 people that I want to be the average of. Another big lesson for me in life that was really, really difficult and hard was having a business partnership go south with somebody that I thought was a really good man. And I think he still is a really good man.
Maybe just not a good partner for you?
Just a bad partnership. And again, I definitely, in any friendship, personal relationship with a wife or a husband, everybody has their wrongdoings. For someone who just sits there and goes, it was your fault, you're an asshole. I definitely had some things in that relationship that went wrong, but for so long I thought this person was a big, I don't want to make him sound bad, but
I think maybe you put him on a pedestal he wasn't quite ready for?
Yeah, I think I helped him more than he ever helped me.
Okay.
And that was due to my insecurity. And then when that partnership through life's events came to a head, it was like, all right, Ryan, you're really now on your own. But that forges like steel. That makes you stronger. And if I didn't have, again, all those trials and tribulations of life up to that, I could have just folded and crumbled and, allowed that person to manipulate me. And I'm not saying that that person was trying to manipulate me, but a lot of people in business get manipulated by business partners.
Of course.
Or strategic partners. And through that, I created a boundary system. And I stick pretty strict to it. So those are big losses to me. Monetarily wise, a big loss, I don't think any of them were, because they all were things that got more awareness of me, helped me learn lessons. I did not view any of them as a loss. I might have said like, fuck, I shouldn't have spent that money right now because now it's super tight.
Yeah.
But, these events, the past couple of years, like most people don't realize, like I lost 20,000 event.
You invested 20,000.
I invested 20,000.
That's the way you look at it.
Yeah, it was 120,000.
I look at it. I'm like, dude, you fucking lost 20 grand. You're like, no, I invested it. Because I know on the back end this is going to pay a much higher rate of return for me.
I think long term, always. So, okay, maybe in the short term I lost 20 grand. I didn't make a net profit.
Right.
But I think those are big, lessons to me. And again, there's a ton of ones in between. My old boss, Frank DiPaolo, he used to call me the cancer of the office because I was punchy and I was negative and I called out his bullshit and I had street smarts. And he fired me on a bullshit clause in my contract with Penn Mutual. And, that taught me more lessons. Like, hey, there's people out there that will get you. And I think actually Frank was teaching me a lesson that he loved me deep down. He was like, this guy is fucking nuts. And I like it because he was also nuts. And that taught me another lesson. So all of these tough things you go through in life teach you lessons. They don't set you back. The only time you're set back is if you're soft and you give up.
I think that's true. Our friend Patrick Bet-David has a great quote that I love, right? And it's that you're going to lose, but don't lose the lesson, right? So I think your perspective in looking at this stuff is really important, especially for a nerd like me that just looks at everything as a P&L, and if I can't make money, I'm like, I don't want to do it. But if you look at everything as an investment in that lesson and that it's going to pay dividends in the background, I think that's huge.
You can't complain either.
Right.
You asked for this life.
Right.
I put myself out here, you know? So like, you have haters, you have people that are going to do this. You're going to make an investment. You're going to do this. Dude, if you sit there and complain, you're just adding on and compounding the negativity in your own head. When you just got to like take it on the chin and move forward. You punch me in the face and I don't die and I don't get knocked out. Like I push forward. I push through the storm because I know that if I push through the storm, I'm going to end up on the other side of that storm and learn so much in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I do every time.
I think one of like the best parts of being in your 30s as a man is like you finally start to figure shit out. Like our wives sit here and they roll their eyes at us because they're statistically like 5 to 10 years ahead of us, right? And we're just starting to figure it out. And you come into your 30s with an awareness that you didn't have in your 20s. And there's a lot of self-control, there's a lot of reflection. At what point do you start to realize that you picked up this awareness, right? And the example that I'll give you is I had this ridiculous scenario recently with my cell phone provider. I gave them my trade-in, they lost it. I literally spent like 12 hours trying to get this $500 back. And I was irate. I was a dick to my kids. I was short with my wife, and I was just letting this be this all-consuming, ridiculous thing to me. And then I checked myself. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I'm destroying everything around me right now over this ridiculous thing. Just pay the bill.
I'm bringing the wrong vibe here.
My time is worth more than the $500.
Yeah, let it go.
But it took me a couple minutes to check it, right? After spending hours on the phone with
That's your ego internally.
But 10 years ago, I'd still be stewing 2 weeks later now. You called me, you're like, what's wrong? I'm fighting with Verizon. I'm short. But I eventually checked it, and I can go back and I can figure out those defining moments where I start to develop that awareness. When did you develop that awareness? Was there an event? Was there a person?
I think Chris Drake was very instrumental in my life.
Okay.
I think he had an alcoholic father. Chris, I hope I'm not sharing too much if you watch this. One day, Frank DePaula, my GA, which is a general agent of a financial firm, more specifically an insurance brokerage. For those of you who don't know, I own and run a financial firm with multiple partners doing insurance-based planning on the life insurance end. And Frank was the big dog of big dogs in Jersey at the time. And Frank was just reaming me out about something, probably calling me a cancer again. And Chris Drake comes in, he's like, dude, this fucking kid hustles. Like, why don't you tell him, like, the good stuff that he does?
Right.
You know, why don't you tell him, like, what he is doing right? Why are you only telling him what he's doing wrong? And that was somebody that really flipped my thinking of, like, oh, no, people do see who I am and what my potential is.
It almost taught you to look for the validation in yourself because you heard somebody else say it.
But he defended me.
Yeah.
And then he also told me the same things Frank wanted to tell me, but I was listening.
You said it the way you needed to hear it.
He said it the way I needed to hear it. And at that point, I started to become self-aware because I can go so fast. My mind moves at such a fast pace. And I think that's the intensity part that most people don't realize about me. Like, dude, it's running. You know, I'm sitting in a car the whole way in North Carolina. I had fucking 50 connects to people that we were going to talk to on the ground, and I limited them to 3 that we were going to drop stuff to.
Yeah.
So I do that every day in every aspect of every business that I have interest in. And I wish I could shut it off. I can't.
No, you can't.
I can't.
I was very surprised today when I called you. I said, are we still filming tonight? I know you've been in North Carolina the past 4 or 5 days. Like, I'm sure you need to catch up on work and family.
And
no,
sleep.
I never stopped.
Okay. I said all gas.
I guess we're going. Okay, let's go. So I don't want to stay on all the negative, right? I think the negative shapes a lot of the positive that you get today. You've been in business in this career, what, 18 years, roughly?
I think it's like 17 and a half.
17, 18 years. Okay, I'm pretty close. What do you think the smartest business decision you've made to this point has been?
Easy. Easy answer. Starting this fucking podcast. And giving up an investment license that I worked so hard to study for.
Why is that?
You know, at the time when I was younger, you saw this guy, Dave Rabe, I mentioned earlier. His boat name was 1035 Exchange. Rest in peace, Dave. I give him a lot of credit, too, for this, you know, where I am. I was working at Lowe's, and he said, come work in financial services to keep the story short. And I realized quickly that I have other skill sets that no one ever taught me that I had. And I want to answer this right. What exactly answer are you looking for?
I want to know the smartest single business decision you ever made. And you said it was starting the podcast.
It was starting the podcast, but like there was many smart decisions that led up to that. But in that whole fight was this fight for this investment license that I thought was the best thing I ever did back then.
Do you think it was because that's what you thought you needed to be successful in this industry?
Yeah, because I listened to all these other fucking idiots.
Going back to that Drake song.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I gotta do what you tell me to do. And then for like 4 years, I'd fight with Chris Drake. I could sell massive pension plans and overfunded insurance off of having a base of people. And then I could do it with a passion that I have. Like maybe me and you can make fun of the industry because Chris also gave up his investment license. And when COVID happened and I saw so many great cops and teachers and firemen lose their job or, go get a vaccine that in their soul, it felt like it ripped their soul out. I said, you know what? Fuck this investment license. Fuck compliance. I'm going to go do what I'm going to pursue, and I believe in me, and I'm going to make more money that replaces the income that I gave up. So most people don't realize I had about $50 million under management. It's not a lot of money. I'm an insurance-based planner. I do tax planning, pension planning, estate planning, succession planning. A lot of that's based around insurance-based planning.
Right.
The AUM I had was on accident, but it still paid me most years $200,000 to $250,000 in income. And to give that
That's a lot to walk away from.
Yeah.
You walked away from somebody's really good full-time salary job to pursue what you believed in.
So it was a net loss of $500,000 because I also invested $250,000 in the podcast over the next year and a half. So I looked at it as like a $500,000 net loss at the time. But it was by far the best business decision I ever made. the best personal decision I ever made, because it made me happier being able to really chase something that I am passionate about, which is helping people get to financial freedom and having something that is really based around giving a fuck about this country. And somewhere along the way, some people who had grandparents that died on that beach forgot that that's what matters most. Not your money, not your car, not what your loser neighbor thinks, or even what your grandma thinks. I'm sorry, Grandma. And I don't say that cold. Like, this country matters.
Right.
And we're going to get into North Carolina, but showing up there and seeing patriots, Americans, people, liberals, gays, black, whites, Hispanics, people helping people is what this country is based on. And I wanted to go help more people, and we did that with Fireside, and it's by far the best decision I've ever made. My business has tripled.
It's phenomenal. You gave up the thing that was holding you back.
Yep.
You leaned into the thing that makes you happy. I'm sure it feels every day when you get up a lot less like work and more like you're doing your purpose.
Yeah, I hang around, I ride my
Right.
quad, I hang out in my detached
But you're
office.
doing it on your terms with
Yeah.
people that believe the same things as you, chasing the same things as you. Business happens to come about as a result because people do business with those people that they know, like, and trust and share the same vision with.
New struggles come from it.
Of course.
Right, I put myself out there, my life's out there, you know. I'm a big welcome everybody in guy, right? Because you're an ecosystem now. You know, I'm an influencer to some degree, which I hate saying. I really do.
When are we starting your OnlyFans?
Big gay guys would love me.
I think they would. I sent you the thing today. I heard that Cash Me Outside girl that was on Dr. Phil because she
she's
beat her
crazy.
mom. She just made like $50 million
If she was
on her
my kid, I would
OnlyFans.
definitely hit her with a belt. Called Dyfus.
Well, we should
Kidding.
think about that as another line of business for you. But I think the takeaway is really important, right? Which is to chase your purpose,
Purpose.
right? Chase your passion. Don't hide behind the things that you think you're supposed to have because of the line of work that you're in, right? In our line of work, I think people hide behind designations. They hide behind licenses because they need that
hide
validation
behind
because they
suits.
haven't actually done the thing.
They hide behind ties.
Of course.
They hide behind golf memberships. And I was doing all of those things. And my Bricktown friends actually caught it young. I got to give them credit. Although at the time it was very negative and it was bad and it was something I needed to get away from. It was like, oh, Ryan's showing up in a suit. Ryan's showing up in a button down. And really internally, like, they didn't understand like what business I was in. And, you know, at the time you had older guys who were wealthy and driving BMWs and Porsches and nice houses and big watches and all this stuff. And most of that shit I don't even care about nowadays. I mean, I have a big house, but it's a fucking cabin in the woods. You know, like I'm still like brick trash in a sense. You know, I like what I like.
You did admit that Porsches are pretty cool, though.
They are cool. I mean, John Achille let me kick his thing sideways one night, and I kind of got hooked. And Bailey's Porsches are pretty cool, and
So someday.
your Porsche has been fun, and you know, well, that's a toy we'll get to, but it's not a priority.
Right.
But you know, it was things like that I was pretending to be someone I wasn't, and when I actually just fully leaned into who I was and kicked out all those insecurities of trying to pretend to be someone I wasn't,
Right.
that's when I skyrocketed in life and happiness.
So there's a place for stuff like that when it's you just genuinely like that thing.
If
You've always
it's
done
you,
it, right?
I don't hate on it.
Right. And then there's the
That's more you than me.
I need to check this box off because it's the next thing I need to have to look the part for the thing that I want to do.
Correct. Like we go to your golf course, right? I have fun there. Like I
Yeah.
talk shit. I wear golf's dumb hat, and like you're fully comfortable with allowing me to be me.
Because I'm me. I don't
But in
care.
most settings, people aren't them. They're trying to be someone they're not. So they're so worried about what someone else is going to think about me if I'm with them at the golf course wearing that golf's dumb hat with an untucked shirt. And I wish those people didn't do that because that's an unhappy life to live.
I'm happy that they do it because they're self-identifying as not being our people. They're also going to contribute to the bottom line when we release our new version of the Ryan Haters Club shirt, coming probably for Black Friday,
Black Friday, we're going to run discounts.
alongside
for
stroke checks and a bunch of other things.
I'm gonna run discounts
What's
for it.
Justin's company that's going to do our clothing now?
it. Lappin is,
Shout out Justin Lappin and his company.
what is it, Matt? It's he does a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
he designs logos for like most of the D1 colleges
Right.
for lacrosse helmets and stuff.
So not only will it look
Apparel.
cool, but the messaging behind it,
Yeah.
you're not with us. It's fine. We're okay with it.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, and those people who are in the Ryan's Hater Club, the craziest thing is like, I still want you to succeed. You may not think like Ryan, he's so clear, calculated, and vicious. I am to some degree, but only like within my boundaries. Like I'm not clear, calculated, and vicious only after the dollar.
Right.
You're a jerk off if you think that of me.
Right.
And actually, it's insulting. But I am clear, calculated, and vicious in protecting my boundaries and what I'm about.
I get it. I respect it. I agree with you and share that same idea. So you always ask this on your podcast, and I know the idea is you want to extract nuggets from your guests. And one of the things that Fireside is built upon is you want to help people understand the vision of entrepreneurship. You want to give them the idea that this is possible for you at whatever scale you're looking for, right? Pursue that thing that you're passionate about. Get after building the life that you desire for yourself and your family on your terms.
Matt, real quick, we need another Duraflame on this. It will create less smoke.
I'm getting smoked out right now.
Yeah, Chris is getting smoked out.
But to go back to that question, you always try and pull out that nugget to give that person a little bit of help. And you always ask it the same way, which is, what would you tell the next guy or gal who's thinking about making this jump or making the bet on themselves or getting away from their 9 to 5 or starting it?
That's a last question, Chris.
I have a great last question. We're doing this on my terms. I'm in the seat today, okay?
All right.
Before we pivot to the pit and Fireside and what this ecosystem means and then the fun stuff, what would you tell that person, aside from just fucking do it? Because I know that's what you want to say.
Everybody said, like, you don't have to make money on your passion. And I agree, because doing financial services was never my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I have grown to like it because of the complexities to it. And although my language is not always the best and my grammar's not always the best, I misspell shit. If you follow my Instagram, I spell shit wrong all the time.
I'm constantly correcting
I mean, you correct me, Kelly corrects me, everybody corrects me. I really just don't give a fuck. That's what people don't realize. But, like, I did that as a stepping stone to get to what I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have something you're passionate about, but you're doing something right now that's boring, but it's paying you and it's giving you that income, it's giving you that savings that's going to allow you to take that leap off the cliff to that thing that you're really passionate about. Like, don't just chase your passion, like you hear everybody say. Eventually get to your passion.
Right.
And have it be a vertical of something that will pay you. But, like, be okay with doing the boring shit for a while.
Right.
And eating some crow for a little bit.
It's great advice. And I'd push back on you with the financial services part, right? Because the thread that runs through every business you have an involvement in is your desire to help people in one way or another. And you know at this point, almost 20 years in your practice in the financial services, that's exactly what you're doing. And you're doing it with people that have put a tremendous amount of trust and faith in you, and you take that honorably.
Yeah, it means a lot to me.
Right. And within that, you found things that you would really like doing, regardless of whether it was applied to finance or something else.
Let me talk on that real quick.
Of course.
So with the financial services, let's just say I'm sitting down with a family, they're worth $20 million. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, this year your estate tax level is going down to $6.5 million. So if you're worth $20 million, you're exposed to a large estate tax. And if you don't have the liquidity to pay that, you may have to off-sell real estate, hard assets, and your family's left with nothing. So when people bring me in to do that, I take that as like, hey, if you die, Chris, I'm going to hold your wife's hand until the fucking end.
Right.
And I mean that. Do I make money from putting the plan together? Absolutely. I need to make money to live.
Right.
And I want to make money. I'm never shying away from saying that. With all of this I've built. But I tell you that I take that as a real honor to help people in that type of planning. I do. And I know a lot of guys in this business that don't care. They just want the money. And I'm not saying they give bad advice. You know, some do, but I think that they're just about the money. I literally take the emotional side of caring, and I probably care too much at times.
But that's also the thing that keeps you coming back.
Correct.
And the fact that you keep coming back is why you're in the position that you are. Right. And I'll offer a nugget too, because I've been through a similar path, right? Figuring out, I'm doing well. Is this really the thing? Is this the passion? And what I'd encourage anybody that's going through that like identity crisis or career crisis or midlife crisis, whatever you want to label it is, in the thing that you're doing, there's probably something that you're better at than anybody else around you.
Yeah, and it may seem boring to you, but
probably
you're good at it.
something that you're really good at and that you enjoy. So if you have the autonomy inside of your organization or inside of your role, try and offload a lot of the stuff that's not that one thing so that you can really focus on that thing that you're better, more passionate about than anybody else.
And that's what I did.
Because it's going to be for the benefit of everybody around you if you focus on that strength and avoid those weaknesses.
You know, everybody says, double down on the weaknesses. No, that's stupid.
Because your weaknesses are somebody else's strength.
The 4 Ds. Do I want to do this? Can I delegate this? Can I delay this? Or can I delete it? And that can be a person, place, or thing.
Yep.
And I literally go through those decisions and do as that tells me to do. And that has allowed me to be much happier. Like, for example, in our business, especially on the FINRA side with investments and rollovers and things of that nature, like the paperwork is redundant. It is so redundant. I'm answering the same question 6 different ways sideways.
You're not a paperwork guy.
Yeah, I'm not a paperwork guy, but in the beginning of my career, it was like, I hate this career because I got to do this paperwork to roll over this $1 million. This sucks. But I just roll over $1 million and made X, Y, and Z. Like, it's totally worth it. But like, literally, I would almost not take that end goal of that commission because I hate the paperwork that much. Then you need to get someone to do the paperwork.
Right.
Delegate.
And there's somebody who's really good at paperwork that hates talking to people.
Correct. And that's something that I've built out, and I'm continuing to build out. I still need more people to delegate to. And I will get there.
So we're going to pivot, and we'll use that pivot of the number one decision you made was to go all in on Fireside and your vision. And it's been about 2.5 years or so that you've had Fireside America as well as the Pit in its various forms. You're 100 episodes in on the podcast. You've had a lot of guests across different industry verticals, different ages, level of experience, backgrounds.
Fame.
And they've all kind of come to, A, promote their story a little bit in their business because you give them the platform to do it, but B, because they share that same goal to share information, share nuggets, and help that next person.
A lot of them come to help me, and I appreciate that.
So if you think back over the last 100 episodes, are there any nuggets that kind of come to mind that really stuck out to you that we could maybe reiterate or reshare for those people that maybe didn't catch the episode, or even something that stuck out to you that when you were sitting across the table interviewing or across the fire pit, that stuck with you, resonated with you, you implemented, and now you're better for it?
An answer they gave me to the last question you asked me? I would say just a general consensus of don't stop. For example, Basil Iwanek, who's a huge Hollywood producer, he liked movies. He went to Villanova to play basketball. Things didn't work out. He ended up out in California going to a university. I forget which one it was, but it was for movies and that whole world, and failed out of there and ended up in the mailroom at Warner Brothers. And, this big boss comes down at some point and says, like, you're tall and we heard you played for Villanova. Like, get out on the basketball court at 2:00. I think the time was, Basil told me. And he walked out there, it was like Marky Mark and the boys.
Right.
Some big names in Hollywood.
You couldn't have paid for that kind of networking at that point.
Could not have paid for it, dude. And he just never gave up on his goal to then taking an all-out bet, taking a home equity line on his house that his wife didn't know about, and launching, Thunder Road Productions, and, going on to do We Are Sicario, all the John Wick movies. So that was somebody that was pursuing something that they believed in themselves, just like I say, about my story. Like, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that sounds so stupid and cliche, but it's so damn true.
Yeah.
If I want to be the president of the United States, I'm going to do it. If I want to be the head of the NFL, I'm going to do it. I could literally do anything that I desire. There is no roadblock in my head.
Right.
Zero. The only roadblock that it is I want to live a life with my family, or I'd become a trillionaire.
Yeah, there's certain sacrifices you're not willing to make to get there.
To get there. I don't want to do that. I could be happy with this, a secondary home, and making an income of consistent 7 figures. Like, I'm good.
Right.
Like that's more than I ever really thought younger Ryan thought he could accomplish. So I've made it. I'm successful in my head.
Right.
So what is your success? What's that definition? Pursue it until you hit it, and don't ever stop, no matter how long it takes.
And I think that's why you do a very good job in your one-on-one coaching that you do with your clients, because while it's a simple question, it's a question nobody ever asks themselves. And you're tremendous at extracting that information, really putting somebody up against the wall, against themselves to answer.
It's uncomfortable.
What
to
do
make
I
them do
want?
It, yeah. They don't think about it. It's crazy. I have a new one-on-one coaching client.
But you've only thought about it.
Yeah, that's all I've ever thought about.
So it's so second nature to you. Yeah. And when you sit across from somebody who's never done it, it's like, the world doesn't necessarily think the way I do.
They don't really, what's the problem? They don't really, there's so much misinformation. So part of the
that's like the buzzword for 2024, by the way.
Yeah, Biden said that there was misinformation today about Hurricane Helene, but I was on the ground there, and it was definitely not misinformation, but I digress. One of the best things I learned in my financial planning process, which is an economic process, is called LEAP, Lifetime Economic Acceleration Process, designed by an economist named Robert Castellone. And one of the main things that he says that prohibits people from getting to the level of wealth that they desire is misinformation. So let's put in finance terms. You go to the water cooler, and the guy who's still 75 and slubbing it and way overweight, and so am I. I'm not hating on that person, but they're not happy and they're not living good and they're still working at 75. Hey, fund that 401k. Mm-hmm. That's misinformation. But I'm a young guy sitting there. I'm green, and I want to take on this information. This guy's older, and I respect my elders, and I'm going to go run with that information. That's true in every aspect of being an entrepreneur and launching a business and life and marriage and friendship and all of it. Misinformation slows you down. So you got to be able to use discernment and understand the mission that you're on, and be able to eat the meat and spit the bones and continue to pursue that dream. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've always been able to do.
I love it. So as you talked about Basil's situation, and I remember very vividly him talking about the Marky Mark meeting, and maybe you shouldn't call him Marky Mark anymore. Maybe he's Mr. Wahlberg now.
Mr. Wahlberg, he's
got
a
a hell of a watch collection.
Great dude.
I loved Entourage.
Restaurants, shredded,
yeah.
handsome.
Yeah. Works for it.
I think he's taken though.
Whatever you're into. One of the things that sticks out about that is that while he was still building that, he still took his time to pursue the things he was passionate about. I'm a big basketball player. I'm going to go take that time and play basketball. And I think when you start to get in industries, whether it's finance or law or entrepreneurship, you're wired into, I need to network. I need to go to the Chamber of Commerce. I need to go to these charitable events or these things that I'm not super
things
into.
I hate.
To meet other people and do these things I hate. But realistically speaking, if you just double down on the stuff you love and you apply the right intention and you have an openness about making relationships at a genuine level with those people, the business finds itself, right?
Did you learn that from me?
I didn't. I learned it from me, right? But it's something that I don't think enough people think about. Like, you don't have to give up on your passion to pursue this network in a box. You can build your own on your terms.
So
and if you do that, it's better.
My company threw these conferences that were study groups. And if you hit a certain threshold, I think at the time it was like 250 of income, you got invited to these study groups. And each financial services company has things of this nature. And I'm not talking at the incentive trip, President's Club, or chairman, because at those things, there's definitely great ideas shared.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but that's more of a celebration of, I had a great year.
Yeah, but you're surrounded by other successful people, and the best conversations happen at the bar afterwards.
Yeah.
That's where you get your ideas.
I was at one of those, and there was this guy that talked about just throwing his logo, which was a DBA. You're allowed to have a DBA in a firm if you disclose it properly with FINRA and your firm. And it was like a do-good type of concept based off of National Life's slogan, which is do good with good people. Servant Leadership is the book, Cause, written by my friend Mehran Asadi. Very successful guy. He's the CEO to one of the main insurance carriers that I utilize, along with many others. And this guy was like hanging out on the mountain that he loved, skiing all the time around rich ass people. Like, for those of you who find that as like, that's so like, oh, rich ass people. Yeah, rich people hang out on mountains. Rich people hang out on boats. Rich people hang out on golfs. Rich people hang out hunting. Rich people hang out in mountain houses in Wyoming, Montana, Vermont. So whatever it is that you want to do in that ecosystem of skiing and snowboarding and hunting and snowmobiling is something that is around other wealthy people. So this guy just branded up his logos, suited up, booted up, boards. And I was like, ding, ding, ding.
I could do that too.
I could do that. Let me just pursue what I want to do, and let me run with my passions and have that be on the same vertical tree, which I talk about,
Absolutely.
endlessly to everybody. I pound it in their head because they're always trying to do something we don't like. Like, we're humans. We want to do what we want. Same thing when I sell something to you or I educate you. It's a need. That's no good. If you need to buy life insurance, you don't want it. When you want to buy life insurance, you want it.
Right.
So that taught me that I can go work in systems and verticals that I like doing. I don't have to play fake golf. I hate golf. I don't have to go sit on a boat all day.
You're pretty good at it for somebody that hates it.
Listen, I'm a talented athlete.
You're athletic.
I'm a talented athlete. Most people don't realize that, but they sleep on me until I grab them.
It's true. One of my favorite things, and if we just use this couple minutes as like a recap, you had Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey come out, graciously flew out from Montana, hang out in the backyard and point.
They're good people.
And Rob shared two things, and I think one is really, really important, especially in the political environment right now, where you have Kamala Harris talking about these campaign promises of, we're going to give you $50,000 to start a business because that's how much you need to start a business. Dude, I remember when $50,000 a year was an unobtainable level of income for me.
Yeah.
And I remember Rob vividly saying he started Flag North with $400, where he bought a printing press, slept on the floor of their gym, borrowed the money to get the t-shirts, and paid after he sold them. You don't need $50,000 to start a business.
Rob recently came out and said a story, and I'm proud of Rob because, you know, he's dealt with the government before, and, you know, he's letting people know.
But it just goes back to that misinformation. You don't need this huge check and this huge loan and to sell your soul to start the thing you love. You can do it on a shoestring budget with passion and hard work.
How about you come to someone like me inside Fireside or the Pit?
Absolutely.
And I see that you're onto something and you can make money in it, and someone strokes you a check for $250,000.
That works too.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's real. Now, I'm not saying if you come with some half willy-nilly and you're coming around hungover every day, like, no one's stroking you a check. But if you're a dialed-in guy and you have something that's working, and we see that if it's accelerated with the infusion of capital, my circle is, you know, someone that could potentially stroke you a nice check.
Right. And we've tried to add it up, right? You and I have spent some serious time in Microsoft Excel looking at the last couple of years and trying to put a value on the deal flow that you've created as a result of Fireside, as a result of the Pit, as a result of your introductions and your events. And I know we've come up with pretty damn near close to an 8-figure number, pretty comfortably and conservatively. There's been a lot of wins happening. Are there any really big wins that come to mind for you that you feel really proud of that you contributed to?
First off, I want to say I used to track the wins.
Yeah.
And I tracked the wins because I thought you needed to pay me something back on it.
Okay. 10% to the big guy?
No, not that so much. Like, you do business with me then. And that's not how it works, because maybe some guy gives me a huge deal, but he's got another financial advisor. But you refer me to 12 other huge deals. So if I gave you, 12 deals too, like, I may not ever get your business because you have a personal relationship with your brother who does what I do. I would say that I'm always believing I'm the best. If you don't think you're the best at what it is that you do, you're not going to win. At it. But I've also grown to understand that, like, I can't track that shit, dude. And then when it starts to work at a pace when you become an influencer at such a large scale, like, there's no way to track it. So, like, 8 figures is maybe even low.
I think so.
It's crazy, the deals that have gone on, and even the credit that I get for those, lacks too, which is okay. But if I had to say a large deal that went on,
not even a deal. What's the success story that you feel most connected to and proud of 2.5 years in?
I mean, there's so many. Trevor, again, being one of them. Go listen to his podcast. His dad struggled with methamphetamines and, a tough life, and out young and helping his family. And there's nothing that I sit there and want to take all Trevor's credit for his success. Trevor is successful because of Trevor. Even, for example, this whole past weekend, like, I get a lot of credit because I'm the guy with paying the camera guy and editor and stuff. But, like, I called Trevor, had this idea. I called Dylan, he had the idea. We said we're going to do it. I said, Trevor, what truck should we take? Should we rent a truck? Should we get a rig? Should I get a tractor trailer? Who's going to drive the tractor trailer? And he goes, call Derek. And I talked to Derek all the time. I didn't think of that. Trevor came up with that. So it's a Trevor thing is why he's successful, but it was small things that I told him that shortened his learning curve so tremendously. So Trevor is absolutely a success story.
And the belief in him to do it.
Yeah, and the belief. You got to pump that belief into him, right? Because he, young, we all have no belief, really. We have limiting beliefs.
Because when that stuff happens, right, there's like what Chris Drake had with you. I see that thing in you and I believe in you, and that's the validation you need to do it. I can believe in you more than you believe in yourself at the beginning, but I can't want it more than you want it.
Yeah, and that happens a lot for me.
And that's why Bad Ryan comes about a lot. Because I believe in you and I want it for you, but you don't want it for you as much as I do. And I don't believe that I can do it, and I don't want it, so you're bad.
Yeah, I wish I didn't want it for them that bad.
Right?
Because it's disappointing. You're like, fuck, man, like, I see all this roadmap for you. But again, back to your question, I mean, dude, there is endless people that I've changed their life. Some are close, some are no longer. Pete Riley's another guy. Like, Pete's a great dude. He's got a good heart. He doesn't want it as much as me, and that's okay. Pete, if you watch this, no hate on you, dude. Pete Riley is the community guy that's needed, who's the coach, who's about positive Pete and pumping into kids, and his emotions are so kind. His empathy is so strong. Like,
and the world needs more Pete's.
He gets sucked into situations where I'm like, Pete, fuck that. I ain't dealing with that shit. The kid's dad's a drug addict. I can beat him up. He's in jail. I'm out, dude. I don't want that drama. I dealt with that shit young. I don't want that in my life anymore. And, maybe that's my trauma, and maybe that's wrong, but I have
Or
Pete.
it's a boundary.
It's a boundary. I have Pete, who's a friend who does that. And I remember, like, having crying conversations with Pete. And I think Pete's okay with me disclosing this. He's wrote a book about a lot of this stuff, about having thoughts of killing himself and all these things. And I said, Pete, like, you need to, like, I'm not saying give up mortgages. You're pretty good at it. But, like, your passion is this fucking wrestling shit, dude. Like, you need to double down on that. You need to do that. And I see Pete thriving, man. And he went from billboards. He now does a podcast with Evan, who helped me get this whole thing started. Evan and I had a falling out. People grow apart. People have different wants and desires and personalities. But, like, this didn't get started without Evan for our... And I give Evan mad love. I really mean that, Ev. If you see this, dude, I don't think I owe you the world, but I give you a lot of credit. And he started a podcast with Evan, producing it for him, and he's now tripled his sessions at the wrestling and grown that practice. And I think it's allowing him to live a life that he desires and pursue something passionate. And whether people know that or not, I feel a part of that. I know Pete knows that in his heart, and I feel good about that. But dude, there's endless people. Nick Facilli, changing the way he does things. Nick has a huge ego. He's super competitive. He's a D1 volleyball player. I got to have a hot wife, and I got to win, and I got to have millions of dollars in real estate. It's like, whoa, Nick, pull it back, dude. We did some one-on-one coaching, and Nick is crushing it, dude, and he's just a giver.
Right.
He's actually been a giver the whole time. I just had to pull it out of him. I had to help him understand his vision.
Yeah.
You came to me killing it. I didn't teach you how to make money. You have more money than me. You're a successful guy, but
Thank you.
You had things about you that no one's ever told you, right? And just like you've told me things.
Of course. So we're friends.
And I think you have grown tremendously, and you're going to I still challenge you. You still go back to like spreadsheet if it doesn't give me this rate of return amount, right? But I challenge that thinking on a daily basis, and I know that that's going to lead you to somewhere like so big outside of your comfort zone, which is going to give you real growth. And we're friends. My wife, I've challenged her to get outside of her ecosystem of Long Island when we first met. I couldn't give up this business. I built all these relationships. Golf I fucking hated. Booster club events. And
You don't want to do it all again in Long Island?
no, fuck no. It's too much traffic, dude. And at the time, Zoom wasn't a thing.
Right.
So I just kept looking every time I went to Long Island, like, I'm going to take 2 hours to get to every appointment. That's only 20 minutes away. That's horrible. I can't do this. And I challenged her to think bigger and, like, you could love somewhere else. And that's been one of my biggest success because she's the best compliment to me ever.
I agree.
And, most people end up thinking I'm a decent person because I'm married to Kelly. She validates
That's not
me.
an incorrect assessment.
Yeah.
Hopping back in, Fireside, the podcast, is kind of the basis for this ecosystem that you've created.
I got something more to say about Fireside now.
Let's hear it.
So Fireside was predicated off of those people who had to go give their souls away and take a vaccine. And whether you took the vaccine or not, I'm not mad at you. Like, I don't fucking care what you do with your personal life. I won't take a vaccine, ever, and my kids won't ever have one, ever. But it was trying to show people that from any aspect of life, you can go accomplish this. And my thought is bring on all of these different walks of life and allow them to tell their personal story. So Ryan's story is only going to resonate with a certain amount of people.
Right.
I'm smart enough to know that. But I can interview a lot of people and pull out of them because I have the ability to get people to tell me things that they won't tell most people. That's a God-given talent. It's not a manipulation.
Right.
It's not malicious. That's loving. It's genuine. It's authentic. And I knew that I could do that. I knew that someone else was going to see this story and listen to Chris's story, which it did resonate. Ryan in the pit now started to engage more after your story. Sure. And, Sean Ryan and Basil and Paul from Bubba Coos and all of these great men and women that I've had on the show, someone out there who watched it walked a parallel path to that person or identifies as that type of personality. So financial freedom is something that I think that most people can obtain if they really want to go for it. I also believe there's some people that don't belong in entrepreneurship.
Sure.
And that's okay too. You know, you may want to be a worker bee and you may want to just go in at 9:30 and leave at 4:30, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't look down on you. But for those of you who want to pursue it, I'm going to give you a ton of different personalities, stories, and education in different industries to allow you to say, if that person did it, I can do it too. And that's what every bit of my content is about, from Fireside to the cinematic stuff I put out, to the talking head stuff I put out, to giving back that I put out in my content. And that's where Fireside was really, started on.
So from Fireside, you also created the Pit, which was, to sum it up, if you're in line with that message of, financial freedom, love your country, family, you are people, and we can help you grow quicker, right? It's part mastermind, it's part accelerator. Sometimes it feels like it's part, group therapy, part friendship, part networking. What's the Pit mean to you, and where is it going? What's your vision for it?
It's a tribe of people who have the same beliefs. Things can become cultish. I've seen it in all the coaching groups. I think the big differentiator for me is this doesn't pay my bills. It doesn't come close to paying my bills. I don't net a profit. Essentially, the cost or the revenues.
It's an investment.
Yeah. The cost and the revenues that I put into the Pit, and then the revenues we get out of it, go back towards just more things for the ecosystem. Newsletters, copywriters, videographers. I'm always at a net loss of $2-3 grand a month out of the Pit. Like, most people don't realize it. Like, oh, Ryan, I got to pay this guy. What am I going to make? For that guy or girl who thinks that way, fuck you. I promise you that I'm going to smoke you. Everybody in my ecosystem is going to smoke you. And your problem is your ego is too big and you have no ability to swallow it. Everybody who's in the Pit has a different level of success, and they're good people who want to see other good people succeed. And my vision has always been put those people together. And, there's some controversial things with the Pit of people who watch this that are like, oh, Ryan kicked me out of the Pit, or like, Ryan didn't want me there, and then he made everybody else in the Pit not like me. No, they automatically probably didn't like you already, just like me, because they knew that you weren't about everybody else. You were only about your own agenda. The Pit is about everybody rises together. All boats rise with the tide. I mean that. And I have borders and barriers and a lot of boundaries that as soon as you cross them, you're out.
Right.
And a lot of other business people will be like, Ryan, that's immature. Like, you should have just left those other 15 people in the Pit. They're paying you $150 a month. No. Not only am I going to kick those people out, the people who are left, I'm going to raise it to $300 a month.
So you're not going to make this 5,000 people at $100 a month so you could afford to rent your helicopter?
Never, because it will never be genuine. It will never be what I want it to be.
Got it.
It just won't work. There's no ability for me to have, I don't want to say control in the way of like I'm a control freak, but if I start something, it's mine. This is mine. And other people align with that vision, or you don't.
Right.
I'm not going to go confined to everybody else's emotions and feelings. I'm going to pursue my mission, because every time I get off of my mission and I listen to other people, I find myself at a roadblock and failure. When I listen to myself and I punch and I do what I think I'm going to do, it wins. It may take longer. I may have trials and tribulations along the way and hurdles that I need to get over, under, around, but I do. It takes time. Everything takes time. And the Pit is taking time. It's not perfect. It's very imperfect.
Where do you think it goes?
I think it goes to 75 to 100 guys, which we had 100 at one point. I shrunk it down to 50. That are like you and I, and Big Matty, and Tommy from Fight, and Trevor West, and Nick Vasili, and Hidden Valley Nick, and, my buddy up in Boston. Like, he's got an electric company. Like, he barely freaking gets involved in the meetings. It pisses me off. But he's here to support me because he's down with the mission.
Right.
And he's probably doing that up there with his people. Right? He's in Massachusetts. I'm in Jersey. I got Kirk in Colorado. I got JD down in Texas.
Right.
I had Red Suit for a long time. He was out in Utah doing his own thing with his own coaching group. And he's in 12 coaching groups.
Right.
Right? But those people get down with the heart and what the mission is about. And I think at some point it's probably $500 a month.
Right.
And that's not to make Ryan money. It's to have you all buy in and keep you focused on what this was all about and why you got involved to begin with. And then utilize those dollars to do great things.
To scale up the quality of the thing that you're part of.
To scale up the quality and then essentially become like a group of, not a private equity, because we have to get all disclosures and do all types of crazy things for that, but like we all just essentially in more or less invest in one another.
Right.
And one another's business and other businesses that we want to pursue together.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So when you think about the pit, your core values for the pit, and I think the story that I've always told myself is that they're in this order for a reason, right? Is your love of your country, your family, and then financial freedom. Is that order by design?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have family if we got no country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at these poor people in North Carolina.
Right.
The government didn't come save them. The country didn't come save them. Their countrymen came and saved them. Their neighbor came and saved them. Their fellow citizen came and saved them. And my family doesn't have a life if we're not in a free America.
Right.
And I'm passionate about that. And dude, I put my neck out there with the post that I put, and I have challenging questions. My Fireside Media, I don't have a $20 million a year budget to hire a team of vetters and fact checkers. So there's been stuff I put up and people are like, hey Ryan, that's not right. I take it down. I'm imperfect, dude. But I'm on a mission of like helping tell the truth and get to the truth. And I think the truth matters. And I think in the end, the truth will set us all free as Americans. And that's the mission I'm on. And then my family will have the life that they desire to live. And I visualize, and Kelly visualizes for my family, to have a free country. You know, a lot of people are so afraid to stick their necks out. So I had many people in Jersey alone, I won't name anybody specifically, but it's like, Ryan, I'm not in this fight anymore. You know, I don't want to talk about this. You agree with me? That's soft.
Right.
Like our great-grandparents walked on the beach where they had 50 cals fired at their heads and watched their friends die next to them. You potentially lose a customer. You potentially have, you know, and again, there's bad things that can happen.
Of course.
Right? The IRS can come after me and say, Ryan, you didn't file this tax right in 2016 and just live in my ass because I'm out here speaking and someone in government found it. And like Sean Ryan, the Sean Ryan show, like he's an ex, you know, GWAT guy and, you know, did some black ops for the CIA too. And like all these people could murder me, like literally. But I feel that like God has my back, and I'm not an overly preachy person, but I do believe in God, and I feel like it's a mission He put me on, and He put me here, and I believe in it. But I am scared at times of the shit I put out and the mission I'm on. I'm not going to lie, but you know, I was scared going down to North Carolina. People were robbing people at gunpoint, you know, going into churches that we were going to deliver with, and I just said, like, I'm willing to die for my country, whatever it is.
Right.
And I think that if more people had that type of mentality, we live in a much happier and better country.
Yeah. And that love for this country is one of the things that unites us. And it's really hard this day and age with, you know, what feels like a state-run media from the CCP, what feels like constant negativity on all sides from social media. You don't know what's true anymore. I know what I believe about what I'm going to ask you, but I'm curious, do you still think that America's the land of opportunity? It's the best country there is?
By far.
What do you think the best part about being an American is?
Thousands of Americans showed up for those people in North Carolina. And they were there to fucking fight, rescue. Helicopter pilots who have 20,000 hours of flying helicopters. Like, flying a helicopter is not easy. And most of you who know me know that I have a dream to have one, and I will fucking have one. Private citizens saved hundreds, if not thousands of people off that mountain. It wasn't the government. It wasn't a private contractor for the government. It was private citizens on their own dime, with their own energy, risking their own lives to save other Americans. There's no other country in the world that does that. People are selfish. People are afraid. You know, someone in China has that shit going on. They think the Chinese CCP government's going to be there. Hudson! The dog's barking.
It's protecting you.
The people are this country.
Yeah.
The people are what gives me hope. And, you know, I got a little selfish myself maybe for a time being. Like, I don't know, maybe I just got too caught up in this mission. But the mission's always been about giving. Like, going there and seeing that makes me realize that we are still the land of opportunity because we have a bunch of good people who believe in freedom. And it's never going away. The government can do and say whatever they want. They are powerful. They could shut me down. they could say, dude, they could do whatever they want. They can say and do whatever they want and put you
Seems like they are.
They are. And there's nothing that I can do to stop them but speak up and try to get people to mobilize. And to see how people mobilize in Western North Carolina gives me hope. Mm-hmm. And I still believe that we are the best country in the world.
Mm-hmm. So it goes back to what we talked about with, some of the best lessons you had came as a result of struggle. I remember the most unifying thing I can remember in my childhood as an American was 9/11. Remember that day after 9/11, there was American flags everywhere?
Everybody was friends.
And you felt a sense of national pride that
didn't matter if you were gay, black, white, green, Asian. If you were American, you believed in it.
We saw the same thing happen in New Jersey, 12 years ago when Hurricane Sandy happened.
Correct.
People stepped up in the exact same way you're seeing down there now. So it's interesting to see, out of these struggles, out of these trials and tribulations, good does come and it restores your faith, probably at a time when you need it the most.
Correct.
Especially with all the BS going on in the world right now.
There's a lot of it.
Thinking about BS, it's election season. We're less than 30 days away from, what yet again is the most defining election in our history, which seems to be every election's tagline. And I think we both are very clear on where we stand, and most of your audience is too. So I want to press you on a question, and I want to know what you think here. There's two candidates, right? There's two candidates. We have Mr. Trump, who obviously loves America the same way we do, is sacrificing everything in his life to prove it. And we have Ms. Harris. Why do you think people like her? What is it about her that resonates with people, if anything? Or is it just a distaste for Trump's rhetoric?
I think the people who will vote against Trump have a distaste for him. And what I find funny is one of the biggest things I hear people say, there's two of them, it's Trump bankrupt people. Well, if the guy who's a glazer comes down and does windows on his casino down in AC and he does an absolutely terrible job based on the quote that he put together, I wouldn't fucking pay the guy either. Mm-hmm. That's called smart business.
Right.
Don't say I'm a bad guy that beat someone out of business. And the second thing that they put on Trump is that he had side pieces at marriage. First of all, you never know what goes on in people's personal marriages. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bad ones out there, and I see it up close. I see it in some of my friends, I see it in relationships I know. Sometimes men and women need some loving from other people. And I'm not saying that's right. It's not something I would do. I'd rather just get divorced. But, people are humans. They're imperfect. But a lot of you sit there and say on your righteous, on your righteous podium that, Trump had this side piece. But now you're all telling me that I got to vote for a woman who is the side piece.
What do you mean by that?
She was a side piece. I mean, people know her history if you go look into it, right? Seems like she slept her way to the top. And, this is somebody that sits on Dateline or, that other horrific show on MSNBC with all those angry women, including Cheney. And I do believe that there's a lot of women that are angry. I don't know why they're so angry, but maybe they had bad dads or they were they were abused. I don't know why they're angry, but they're mad at people like Trump who have an alpha personality. Mm-hmm. And that's what he has. And he's got a huge ego. He's imperfect. Some of us are imperfect. But she'll sit there and say, she was asked the question like, what would you change about I wouldn't change anything. First off, just your inability to be that self-aware to realize that that's an absolutely idiotic answer shows that you're inept to be the president of the United States. Because there's a shit ton of things that Biden or his handlers have done to this country that has put us all in a very bad situation. Nobody's going to sit here today and say that we're better off than we were when Trump was president. It's factually incorrect in so many facets. But your ego on the other side, somebody who's an academic, someone who thinks they're more well-read than me, thinks they're more well-spoken than me, you still wear a mask in your fucking car because your ego can't be dropped that you were wrong about COVID. Fuck you. I'm tired of those people. I'm tired of them telling me I'm a bad guy. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Most of the conspiracies that my crazy-ass friends told me have come true. Mm-hmm. Most of the bad things that these people say they're not going to do have done. And now they're putting it in your face. And Kamala is just a puppet in that game. Whoever's controlling her, I don't know who that is.
Well, she was clearly voted in, right?
She was voted in as vice president.
Oh, I mean, for the
somewhat.
most recent election slot.
Yeah, no, she bypassed democracy, but they're the party of, and again, it's not right versus left because the Republicans are losers too. Most of them are.
Of course.
Mitt Romney, this one, that one.
The goal is to keep us divided, right?
Yeah.
Because united we stand, divided we fall.
Bush, same thing. They were ran by the same operatives and handlers, and Trump is the outsider. That's why they're trying to kill him.
Literally.
Literally try to kill him. So that's my guy.
Have we had one this week, or we've been
Maybe
a quiet
it might have
week?
got foiled. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of Trump's, attempted assassination attempts that.
Seems like he doesn't even care anymore. It's just, okay, it's another day at the office.
He's a guy that is just fucking locked in on America. And if you don't think that, he's got an ego about it. Call him a narcissist. Okay, a narcissist with a good agenda. Like, I'm down with it. Okay,
Narcissist
sorry.
with a good heart.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, think about what you're giving up.
And who says that narcissism is even a real thing? It's identified by this medical community that has lied to us about so much. What the fuck is narcissism? Did you call it narcissism because that was somebody you were afraid of back in the day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the biggest leaders spoke out, and they were always condemned and killed eventually.
You're probably right. We haven't seen that in too many occasions, thankfully. And I'm sitting here as you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about this. I say it in kind of jest that like this is yet the next most important election we've ever had.
I think it is.
Here's the thing, right? We're a really young nation. This country was founded 250 years ago.
It's about the point where we start to go sideways.
1776. Our enemies, right? If you want to create enemies, whether they tell us it's Russia or China or whoever, Russia's like 1,000 years old, China's like 5,000 years old. We're the new kid on the block. And the reason that we've been able to get away with essentially being a bull in a china shop or, a young kid in that china shop is because we have the ability to innovate. We have the ability to export our culture that everybody wants. And some really good decisions from really smart people have happened along the way.
We have a service-based GDP that no one else has in the world.
Right. So one of the things that I kind of think about is maybe this is the most important election because we've only had so many of them.
We only have so many left, maybe.
But what I always wonder is,
At least real ones.
we've gotten away with a lot. We've made some really smart decisions, but that ability to create an export culture, a service-based economy, to have that bull in a china shop mentality, to create some of the greatest innovations this world has ever seen, puts us in a position of power. But do you think that there's an aspect of America that we underestimate our allies or our enemies who've been around far longer than us? They've endured some shit that we've yet to see.
So what I want to say is the U.S. military, when ran properly by the right commander-in-chief, could take on a war of China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran at the same time. Americans, innovation. That's why China steals from us, Russia steals from us. The hacking that goes on, it's crazy. Like this weather manipulation. Like we've been doing that since World War II. That's a real thing. I mean, that's not like made up shit. You may think I have a tinfoil hat on. We can get into that later, but like America and DARPA and our experience at war, which is not a good thing. Like we're pretty tough, but I do think that we are completely having self-serving leadership in an inept government that is not paying attention. I'll give you a quick example. I was listening to Sean Ryan's show with this gentleman, Sam Matter. Excuse me for bastardizing your name, but they're two GWAT specialists, which is essentially people who were, soldiers that were specializing in the war on terrorism. They've worked Black Ops, they are SEALs, they are Green Berets, they are the cream of the crop when it comes to our military. And they've been at war, they've been in Afghanistan, Iraq. I'm sure there's operatives all over the country and these other countries who are enemies. And they're telling us right now, like, dude, do we have hundreds of thousands of terrorists coming over the border that plan to do something that is way bigger than the October, event that went on in Israel. And we have people that are sitting there just arrogant, thinking that like, oh, they won't do that to us. Our power grid is vulnerable. You can go up to any power station you want, and I can go shoot an AR into it and shut it down. Like we're vulnerable. Like let's get ahead of that.
Right.
Let's understand that there is enemies out there that want to take us out. Do I think we can course correct? Yes. Do I think we're at like a crossing point where like we're going to go too far where we can't? Yeah. Let's change it. Change it at your local level. Challenge your mayor. Challenge your congressman. Get a group together, people together. Sean Ryan said on the show, write 3,000 letters and then make it 10,000 letters and then go to the parents in your school. Who cares if you feel awkward? That's why I get out there and talk about what I talk about. There's a lot of people who resonated with that don't throw a like on my shit.
Right.
They'll throw me a DM. They'll see me in public. You keep going. Step up yourself.
Right. The idea is really you don't ever want to lose your moral compass. And at times it feels like maybe we have, and we need to get back to that. And I look at it with a lot of the stuff going on in the Middle East, and we're both raising young boys, and our goal is just to create good gentlemen, right? I know if there's more good men that were raised the right way in this world, the world's a better place. I think part of the problem today is we have weak men. The idea is if you have a strong moral compass and you raise good men, I think we're all better off as a result. And I'm proud to try and instill that in my boys, but I just want to see us get that back as a country, right?
I think women want strong men too.
I agree.
I really do. I think the women who step up in their relationships and they now become this feminist, I can do it. And it's because their men are not fully stepping up to the limits that they believe their men should. And I think alpha males are important, and they have done so many things to get rid of testosterone and get rid of strong men who speak out and who are unafraid to go down, I mean this figuratively, not literally, guns a-blazing for things that they believe in and their morals and ethics.
So to go back to it, right, is we need our moral compass back as a country. And one of the things that I love about Trump, aside from the mean things that he says on Twitter, is he seems to have a moral compass despite whether everyone thinks that everything he does is for his self-interest or not. And when he talks about the wars that have popped up over the last 4 years all over the world and just seem to be popping up a new one every year, he's like, I'd end that, I'd end that, I'd end it, just simply by not supporting it.
Talk about it tonight.
When your friends are doing something bad, you say to them, dude, that's fucked up, don't do that. But we keep getting pulled into because we've lost our moral compass, and our allies say, go do this, and we say, okay.
It's money laundering.
Right. How does that stop?
You get a strong leader in there who says no. We just have to say no. If 300 million people stop paying their taxes, government's going to listen. If 3 million men stood up and said no, it's going to change. And you just need a leader that's going to get up there and say no, so everybody else can have the confidence to fall in line and say no as well. And Trump's the guy saying no. That's why they're trying to kill him. J.D. Vance is saying
is there somebody behind him, you think? If it's not him, if they get him?
Vance, his son, Junior.
Yeah, Junior's been speaking up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's
a more polished version of his dad.
To some degree, right? But his dad is way more experienced and has a lot more wisdom than him. His
dad's been president before.
Yeah, well, and his dad learned what was tough to deal with and what was not so tough to deal with. And it was first time around at this. There's a lot of learning through a vacuum, and I think that Trump has created a generation of leaders who saw the path that is needed to be taken when we get into these dire times. So, for example, if I had to run for president when I'm Trump's age, I would, and I would do the same things and take the same slings and arrows that he did. And someone out there who's going to watch this hey, Ryan thinks he's going to run for president. Fucking sleep on me. I love my country that much. So does Trump. Trump didn't need this bullshit. He didn't say, I think this is going to be good for my business. If he was just about business, he wouldn't have ran for president.
Correct. He was doing okay before that, right?
A lot. He was doing very well, and he still is.
Right.
He still is. He's good. He don't care if you lost him, a couple $1 billion in his net worth. He's still playing golf when he wants, and he's got a pretty sick estate down there in Mar-a-Lago that they try to claim is not worth what it's worth.
It doesn't quite add up as somebody who follows real estate markets.
Yeah. I mean, they're corrupt, especially in New York, fucking, district attorney. But
one of my favorite things every morning is I wake up and I go right onto Instagram. Not because I care about what anybody else does, but I'm like, what did Ryan send me late at night? And you mentioned conspiracy theories a couple times, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you've sent over the years has proven to be factual.
Do I need
and a lot of it's really uncomfortable. A lot of the stuff you're sending me now is really uncomfortable because I don't want to believe it.
No one does.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory right now?
There's no one, man. And none of them's favorite.
And maybe not favorite. Maybe that's not the right word. But the thing that's like most top of mind.
So I'll just go through a couple examples because I don't have one favorite thing, and I don't want to be put in a box and put the tinfoil on my hat and act like an uneducated.
I'll put it
maggot.
on. I'll get the flow from inside.
I'll give you a quick example. 7 years ago, I had friends that were ex-military that had too much money and too much time on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the ability to go down these deep rabbit holes, you do find a lot of shit. And again, you have to use discernment. There's a lot of bullshit on the internet. There may be other psyops on the internet. But you have to use your logical thinking. You have to then pop up and go, I'm not going to go down too much rabbit hole, but where does this apply in the macro picture of what I'm paying attention to?
Mm-hmm.
So 7-8 years ago, I started to roll out that elite people, have a lot of child abuse, sexual abuse, trafficking. And these are politicians that we know. These are elite CEOs that we know. These are Hollywood sports. And then you see Epstein and now Diddy. And then, Bieber's involved and this person and Will Smith and that person. And again, these are all allegedly.
Fresh Prince is involved?
Who?
The Fresh Prince?
Allegedly.
Huh.
Right? Him and Jada and their son. I don't know what is exactly true, but there is, where there's smoke, there's fire. That has come true. You have my crazy friends that are down the Q hole, right? They, the QAnons, right? And I'm not sitting there saying that I fully believe in QAnon and that's what's saving the world, like some of these guys believe. Mm-hmm. But, that thing was talking about pedophilia with elites and voting machines and all that.
Is that just like a power thing? I don't understand. Like why?
QAnon?
If you have the world in your hand and you're wealthy and you're powerful, where does this come into play? Like, why are you a pedophile? What do you think that is for
I
them?
can't
Is it
answer
a
that
power
honestly
thing?
because it's just disgusting to
It's
me.
crazy.
But I think when you get to a certain level of having so much power and you have nothing else that you yearn for, like
You just want the thing you can't have.
yeah, just like
Or that's like not okay to have.
Yeah, and you're like devil worshippers. Like there's like satanic, rituals that's going on at these parties. Bohemian Grove that like people like Alex Jones, and I by no means listen to Alex Jones really ever. I
hate
don't.
that he's been right on a lot of stuff.
It's scary, right?
It's really scary.
Scary, right? And these people are sick. They find some type of power kick off of it. But to go back to things like Q, dude, go read the fucking drops, man. There's 4,000 of them. They've been putting them out for 6-7 years. And everything they said 7-8 years ago, whenever it is exactly it started. Again, I don't know when that is, but my friends are sending me this stuff. I'm like, guys, like leave me alone. Like you're nuts. You're conspiracy theorists. Like you have too much time on their hands. And like now, as you fast forward life 8-10 years, a lot of that stuff has come true. Mm-hmm. And again, what happens in those things that are conspiracies is you have people who are extremists. Mm-hmm. So they don't use discernment. They're like, Hillary's locked up in Guantanamo Bay. Biden's a fake person walking around. And I'm not saying some of that stuff isn't true. But if you just look at the overall macro picture, a lot of what these conspiracies have said have come true. So at some point, there's no way that mathematically those or that many coincidences can come to this.
It's like it's almost like Trump. Like, don't lose the message in the poor delivery. Like, there's going to be crazy people at all ends, but if
Correct.
you keep it at that macro level, the message is still there.
Yeah. Well, for example, Trump was asked about Q last election in a town hall meeting. He said, I don't know anybody in it. I just know that they're against people like, essentially fucking kids. Mm-hmm. So that was Trump's way of saying, like, I believe in it in some type of capacity. And my belief, now looking back, at the time, I didn't believe it even. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so crazy. And I'm not saying that is a conspiracy theory that I fully align with, because I think there's multiple forces of good that are pushing back on evil. There may be someone inside the evil that flipped to God and says, like, this is fucked up, and they're the ones who are exposing this. Who knows what's going on, right? What's to say Biden's with them? And this may be something that's controversial to people who watch, but Biden has thrown some hooks at Kamala. Like he's a tactful guy. He's been a politician for a long time. He's losing it. I'm not a sympathizer of Biden or his family or the decisions they made, but who knows who is sitting out there and rolling these things out there to the internet. Because the apparatus that they use to surveil all of us has now turned on them. And, there's a lot on there. There's a lot of misinformation on there. Use your discernment and listen to it. Don't sit there and say, weather manipulation isn't real. This isn't real. That's not real. Like, go look at it. Stop being a human who just cares about football in your pocket and the basic shit that you like and living too simple-minded. Like, do a little bit of homework, and I think you may be surprised.
How do you sort through the noise? And there's a lot of it, right? We have a 24-hour news cycle. You have this thing in front of you at all times that you could have any information, right, wrong, and different. Algorithms are based around feeding you more of what either they want you to see or what they think you want to see. All right, and I'll give you the example. I listened to a Rogan podcast a couple weeks ago with this guy named Robert Epstein. And he's like the founder of this group called the American Institute for Behavioral Research and Technology. He used to be a psychologist. And he went down this deep rabbit hole of looking and going after the big tech companies and how they manipulate their algorithms with an agenda. And he talked about these different types of browsers that you could download that don't do that. I all of a sudden downloaded this browser called Brave, and you could Google one thing in Google, and then you could look up the same terminology in Brave, and you get a much different experience behind a curated search browser and one that is really truly open architecture and kind of independent. So if you don't know to have this other thing, like, how do you sort through what's right and wrong? How do you form an opinion?
I think you need to be open-minded to look for it.
I don't think many people are open-minded these days.
Yeah, because they're going through their day-to-day, man. They've created us as slaves, and they're bringing in more slaves through immigration. And
Is that why they're treating them better than the people in North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, $1 billion was spent on, resettling was the definition they use from FEMA money. Why people died in the mountains.
Well, Americans died in the mountains.
Americans died in the mountains. Immigrants were there, actually.
The Americans aren't getting resettled,
Immigrants were
right?
there with militias stealing people's shit at night. That's a fact. Hiking into the mountains. Factual.
And what did the Americans get? A $750 loan
Some of them.
you had to apply for?
Yeah, some of them.
When you don't have internet service?
And you had to put a PG on it.
Yeah.
Personal guarantee against your home. For $750, which I don't, maybe
that sounds like America just
I
bought a
don't know
lot
what
of
that
homes
pays
for
for.
$750.
And maybe it buys a tarp or two. I don't know what 750's doing.
Right.
I mean, these people need billions.
Yeah.
And their towns were wiped out. Roads, infrastructure, gone. Gone. There's about 30 miles up into the mountains that you do not have access to unless you have an airplane or a helicopter. And most airplanes can't land because there's no runway.
Well, let's pivot to North Carolina now. You guys just got back from North Carolina. Obviously, within the last couple of weeks, there's been some horrific storms. Not just reminiscent of what we went through with Sandy, but magnified at a completely different scale. And one of the things I love about you is you're a man who's never afraid to take action. And it's not because anybody else tells you to do it, it's because you believe it's the right thing to do. And you have a moral compass that compels you to do the right thing. So you guys quickly organized a group, a huge fundraiser. I think you probably raised $20,000. You filled a full 30-foot-long trailer.
Multiple times.
Multiple times, drove that thing from New Jersey down to North Carolina, figured it out along the way. Like, share with me just like your thoughts about that trip, what compelled you to go there, and then more importantly, like what you felt while you were there, what it made you learn about yourself, and what that's going to change for you going forward.
So first off, there's been a bunch of natural disasters since Sandy. And I remember during Sandy, I lived a block off the beach in Point Pleasant, right on the border of Bayhead, and behind Marlins there. And I remember being like, I want to help more. I wanted to help. I wanted to go dig people out, right? There was neighbors helping neighbors, and I don't know, I wasn't like secure enough to like just pick up a shovel and help. But someone would have took and accepted me picking up that shovel and helping. Like, you don't deter someone from helping you.
Yeah.
Like, you're an idiot if, you're deterring someone from helping you. And I've had a lot of this stuff go on with helping people with business and all that. And when this storm happened and I saw that the government wasn't going, it wasn't like, oh, like this is an anti-government thing I should go do. It was just more so like Americans need to help Americans. And I remember so many people who did help the people down at the shore in Sandy. And I didn't have a ton of things at the time that I lost. I was a block off the beach, but it was a condo I rented, so I didn't really care. I lived with a girlfriend at the time for 3 weeks up in Clark. So like, I saw all the devastation. But there was just something in my heart that pulled me there. And I mentioned something to Dylan, my partner with Patriot Payments. I own 50% of it. And Dylan operates the business. I don't operate it. I just oversee some of the thought process and brainchild of marketing. And he's like, I feel bad. He lives in North Carolina. He's on the East Coast.
They just bought a home there, right? Beautiful.
He bought a home. Him and his wife, future wife, Ashley. And he's like, I feel bad too. He was on vacation, actually, over in Myrtle Beach, and they were supposed to go to Asheville, but the storm had happened.
Really?
Yeah. And he said, let's do something. I said, okay, let's do something. And he was on vacation. I knew that he was enjoying that and wasn't going to take the initiative, so I knew I needed to. And I reached out to Trevor, which I talked about earlier, and he said, we need to get Derek involved, which I talked to Derek a lot. And within 48 hours, you know, Derek's ecosystem over at SC Arms, because it was parked at his store, you know, filled the trailer. My ecosystem raised, you know, $10,000 to start, and then it just kept going. So quickly, we got Big Matty, who's here to do so much for us with Fireside, my financial planning business, WCC, helping out with my children. Like, he was on board. And me, Matt, and Dylan and Trevor hopped in Derek's truck and trailer and went down there with a full trailer and a bank full of money. And we were determined to just get hooked up with the right people on the ground. Instagram's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
I have a decent little following that is of the belief that I am. And we got connected with some great people down there through Dylan, through myself, and others. This gentleman, Avery, who's a Marine veteran. He's from Buffalo. He lives in North Carolina now. And we were able to bring very much needed supplies and tools to, you know, fire and rescue, who are dealing with private and public rescue teams. Churches that were organized by patriots, in my eyes, not FEMA, not the government. You know, people helping people, mountain people who are resourceful. And while there, I would be lying if I didn't say, like, wow, this is great marketing too, because I don't fucking lie. I don't care what you think. Ryan's doing this for this. Like, you're an idiot. But there's this gentleman, Tim. He was older. He was about 65 years old. He was friends with this gentleman, Frank DiPaolo, who ran my old agency. But Tim was from Maine, and I'm forgetting what Tim's last name. Kelly, do you remember Tim's last name? I feel so bad. Hold on, let me look at my phone real fast, right? Because I want to give Tim a full shout out. Maybe once in a while he watches this. Tim. I think it was Tim Thompson.
Okay.
Tim Thompson. And we went down and actually went up to Portsmouth, Maine, Portland, Maine. And he said, Ryan, my business just keeps extremely expanding within the hospitalization system. He did benefits for them. And he's like, I just keep giving, I keep making more money.
The go-giver.
Yeah, and that like came to my mind while I was there helping people. Like, I feel good about this, because at times I don't have peace. Man, was I bad to people? Was I too direct to people? Did I do things wrong in life? Was I mean to that person? Like, I'm constantly like questioning like myself to make sure that I'm a good human being. And some people are like, that's so weird, well, you're not confident. No, I'm fully fucking confident. But I think that we can always improve as humans.
Of course.
And while there, I was like, I need to do more of this. I need to put more content on this. And some people are like, oh, you go down there, and I'm not saying anybody has said that thus far. But you go down there and you shoot a camera on this, because I've heard things in the past like that. Yeah, because Kirk went to Florida. And I see every person in this area now who's a big business owner bringing a truckload down to North Carolina. I've already been there. I've already been on the ground. I already dropped supplies. About probably $50,000 to $70,000 worth of supplies between myself, SC Arms, Derek, Patriot Payments, and Trevor and Big Matty.
Right.
Like, you can utilize your influence to inspire.
Of course.
And inspire to do the good. And I think a little bit of my influence has been about my own selfish demons that I've overcome, and I want to shift it towards putting an inspiration into doing what's right as an American and helping your neighbor.
So I think you have a responsibility in this scenario to bring a camera with you, because you have eyes and you have attention. And outsider looking in, as somebody who donated, supported, didn't go with you, I saw the story that you told was a much different story than anything that I was seeing on any news channel on any side, right? And it was a story of
negativity.
Here's what the real destruction looks like. It did happen, first and foremost. Second to that, here's this band of community that's coming together for the benefit of the community on their own terms.
Yeah, I mean,
And
guys,
that's not something that you're hearing anywhere. You're hearing about how this is messed up and this government's doing this. That's all divisiveness.
Yeah, they're good.
Your story that you chose to tell with your cameras that I believe you have a responsibility to tell was one of, here's what's really going on, and here's how people are really helping one another. So whether I'm your guy or not, I could see that and start to feel good about it. And I think you probably did inspire a bunch of businesses up here to take some action, and that's some good that came about it. Whether they're doing it for the right answers or the right reasons.
Who cares?
Who cares? They're still doing it.
I don't care. They need
right?
help. Those people still need help for
Of
months.
course. You know, so I think that's amazing. And I think you found a little bit of yourself and maybe a missing piece in yourself that
I swear to
needed
God,
to come about.
I swear to God on everything. There was just this magnifying pull in my heart that I needed to go. And I won't lie, as you heard that there was people creating militias up there, and that's all real. Like it's not false. It's they were banging down doors at churches and taking generators and food. When people are a few days without food and you get to a week without food, your animalistic side kicks in. Most of us have not been here because we're in a spoiled ass country. That's real human behavior. We do that.
Right.
And by 2 weeks, people eat other people. It's like a fact. Nobody up there has got to that point, hopefully. Maybe some deep still buried in the mountain have. I hope not, because there's some that still have not gotten to, because we don't have the right support with helis from the federal government. But it showed me that, Ryan, maybe you're not putting enough emphasis on the positive of who you really are in your heart. And I want to do more of that. Frank Luna, a guy in the pit, he's
great dude.
He's just a fucking South Jersey hillbilly, dude. And he, got on some political campaigns and, understood what doing the right thing, helped him succeed. And he's not, I wouldn't say he's over political. He's still got a bartending job at, in Asbury. And I actually been critical of him. Like, Frank, why are you doing that? He said, because I love it. I love these people I still serve.
That's what he wants to do. That's why.
He doesn't need it. He doesn't need the money. He likes doing it. But he goes out to these, outreaches every single week, and they feed people out of the food truck that are homeless. And we're gonna go put a camera on that, because you know what's gonna happen? That camera is gonna bring in more dollars to that organization that's feeding those homeless people. And there's no person in America that should be homeless. And in the past, I've probably been selfish and not cared about that homeless person. But I know that if I cared about more homeless person and people and situations like North Carolina, I'm going to make more fucking money because God's going to put it in my pocket and my family's pocket than I ever imagined doing. And my mission has always been about doing good. But really, again, everything's a journey. You're navigating to this end point. So when Ryan gets to the heaven's gates, I see this guy that is supposed to be the maximum best version of Ryan, and I chase him down and I say, dude, I beat you. I didn't just catch you. I'm a better version of what you guys all said I should be.
Right.
And I don't just say that for marketing fucking reasons. I mean that from the bottom of my goddamn heart. And again, I go back to, I'm misunderstood. Like, dude, I will give you the shirt off my back if you're a good person, and I know you're a good person. I've lent money the last 3 years, over $50,000 out of my personal pocket. And at times, I'm not super
You're not
liquid.
that cash liquid.
Yeah, like I'm not. I could have 800 grand in the bank, and I can have 20. And I can have $100,000 month, and I can have a 0 month. But I constantly pursue that mission, and I'm always provided enough. And there's something in the Bible, I forget what verse it is, and I don't want to be preachy because I'm not. I don't even go to church. But it's essentially like if you provide enough for others, there will always be enough provided for you to live good.
Right.
And I believe that. And again, I don't need to be a billionaire. I don't need to be like these dirtbags. I think the billionaires of the world, there's very few, and I think there is some of them, that are really righteous people. And I want to be righteous. I want to do what's right. I want to try to attack everything that I ever had someone think I did wrong. In my head, I'm not saying I'm going to go back and...
You're not going to fix it, but you'll understand it.
You can't fix it, right? Because maybe they think what they think about you or whatever, but I want to understand it. I want to chew on it, and I want to continue to do right and make sure that I leave this world a ripple effect for when I'm gone.
Love it.
And North Carolina is, I don't know what the questions you have on it, but I can go deep on like what's going on there. It's not what any of the fucking media says.
This is your show. Put out what you want.
I'll give you a quick
Put out what you think everybody needs to hear.
This guy John and his partner, I'm forgetting the other guy's name, I apologize, and the organization they're with, they are, guys who go and do rescue missions. They're still on, Florida has put together a special rescue a rescue team of special operators. These guys were ex-military, but they have a non-for-profit that goes around and does these missions. And they were actually down in Tennessee, and they did a lot of good things down there with the fire, and they had very limited red tape. And they said, we need to get up to North Carolina. This is our time to shine and show what we're able to do. And, for the good. And they did. And they got up there and just started taking personal helicopters. And while they were there, they had other helicopters that were military owned 4 or 5 days in. They're like, dude, what are you doing to the pilots? I'm like, oh, we have no Title 10. And again, I'm not a military guy, so I don't even know what that means. But essentially, they don't have orders to go.
Right. So I'm going to sit here and twiddle my thumbs until I'm told.
Like, you're a pussy. If that was me, and I was that pilot, and there was dead people on that mountain, I don't give a fuck what the repercussions are. And that's what this country needs to get back to. People like John, people like Sean Ryan's show, people like Rogan who speak up, people who are alpha males who don't care. You don't give me my rights. You don't tell me what to do. And you help your neighbor. And that's what these people were doing. And the government and FEMA and all these people were just simply getting in the way, trying to control it for whatever their agenda is. Exactly what it is, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
The people that I was on the ground with that I saw that were, I creeped past this African-American woman, and she was on the side of the road, and she was convincing this family to fill out their paperwork and whatever they do. And I'm not saying some female workers don't do amazing work, so don't let me generalize. But it just seemed like an uneducated idiot who was there with an agenda, and they were just some fucking paper pusher with no idea what they were doing and no real empathy. Every single private citizen and person who lived there in the mountain and the people who owned the church, you could say you believe in God or don't believe in God. My parents brought me up extremely religious. I won't bring my kids up in the church. There's a lot of weird shit that goes on in churches. But I'll tell you what, the churches are saving the communities up there right now. And there's a real law between church and state, and FEMA can go in and confiscate your goods inside of a warehouse that's at an airport. They can't go into a church. And I got hooked up with some real patriots that had AR posture outside of their church parking lot. And there was no FEMA rep that was going to come in there and take their shit. They were open carrying, and they were telling people that if you come here and you tread on me and you try to fuck with the people in our community that we're trying to feed, bathe, and keep alive, we will defend ourselves. And that's what this country needs to get back to. Figuratively. Doesn't mean everybody needs to grab a gun. This is 2024. But if we simply say no, and we simply defend ourselves, and we have tight-knit communities, and we do the right thing like they are doing up in North Carolina, and heroes are stepping up and doing the shit that's hard alpha shit to do. I'm not saying the women didn't give love. I'm not saying the women didn't fold the clothes. I'm not saying the women didn't do amazing things too, that their hearts and their abilities as women to do that men can't do, like hold someone's in their arms for 2 hours that just lost a loved one. I can't give that lady love.
Nope.
I'm not good at it. I'm just not, maybe my kids I am or my wife, but I'm not an overly sensitive person in that way.
I'm not physically capable of carrying my child for 2 hours, but my wife is.
Yeah.
They're built different.
Not in 2 hours. Your wife does it for 10 hours a day, right? So women are built different, and I'm not coming at women.
No.
But it was alpha men that went up on that mountain and saved people. That was alpha men who open carried and defended their communities as they were unfed with no power for 2 or 3 days before anybody came in and gave them any hands. And
do you think those communities were like that before this tragedy? Or do you think that it took a tragedy to shake everybody up and get them back in that posture?
I've never been to those mountains. They're beautiful, by the way. And Kelly, we should visit. They are changed forever. But I seem to think mountain people are resourceful. And they have a better sense of community because they are out in the wild. So I think they've always had each other's back. And maybe from time to time, because we're in a digital world and things move fast, and maybe they get away from it a little bit, but they are way more of a tight-knit community than the community that I live in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of rich people where I live.
You've heard the quote in some iteration, and I apologize if I butcher it, but I don't even remember who said it or where it came from, but it's something that always stuck with me. And it's this idea that hard times create hard men create easy times, easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And it's just this vicious cycle, right? And we live in such an easy time, relatively speaking to our short history. Everything's a little softer, everything's a little bit more sensitive, everything's a little bit more judged, everything's a little bit louder, what you can do and you can't do, And
when the going
it's almost
gets
like
tough,
we create our own problems until the real problems come, and then when the real problems come, everybody wakes up again. I wish we didn't have to have real problems to wake up.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And there's about 800,000 specialized military people who served over in the Middle East over the last 20 years. And those men are now getting intel calls from commandos in Afghanistan, letting them know what's going on our military bases, our NATO bases, and they promise us an imminent attack on our country like they saw in October last year in Israel. Door to door in 6 cities at once, way bigger than that Israel attack. Those guys have PTSD. Those guys are alcoholics. Those guys are recovering alcoholics. Those guys have fucking nightmares. Those guys have issues after issues after issues. But you know what they're doing? They're picking up the phone and taking that call, dude, because those are their friends. And they don't want another 9/11 to happen.
No.
Why aren't we all thinking like that? Why don't we all think about our own community? We know what we're thinking about? We're thinking about ourselves.
Yep.
We're thinking about our pocket. We're thinking about our exit of our business. You don't have a fucking business, dog, if you don't live in a free country. Over in China, if you didn't have the mask, essentially your phone would ding, 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 ding. Ryan didn't take the vaccine. Stay away from him. And you shut down my bank account.
Right.
In Canada, all those truckers lost their bank account. They were debanked. Alex Jones was debanked for telling the truth. And again, the guy had a very big error in Connecticut. That's it's terrible. No one's perfect.
Right.
We all should be thinking community. And I know that if I think community, and you guys are seeing this passion out of me, I'm going to make so much fucking money. I'm going to have a helicopter. I'm going to fly it over all of my fucking haters' houses. And I'm going to inspire so many young men and women to do the right thing in this community because I am strong. I have a belief in God. I have a belief in country. I have a belief in karma and doing what's right. And again, I want to make sure I remind everybody, I also want to make a fuck ton of money.
Because it gives you the ability to do all that and keep it going.
And that's what everybody doesn't understand.
Right. It's not about sitting on it being Scrooge McDuck.
Like I spent another $3,000 on top of the money that was raised down there.
Right.
And shout out
Was
to
that
Lowe's.
super easy after the big changes you've had in your life in the last 3 months?
No,
exactly.
I'm like, I don't want to say I'm broke. I have a lot of good things going on, but I spent a lot of my liquidity.
That hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. I'm not sitting here wealthy, but I know that by doing that and inspiring others, that it's going to come back to me tenfold.
100%.
And most people are just short-sighted. They're just worried about today. They're not focused on a long-term vision in business or in country. Or just in your simple community. The community you're at locally is the most important thing that you should be fixated on.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to run for office. I don't want to be a politician because half these guys I want to punch in the face.
No.
I don't have the patience for your bullshit. And maybe you call me you can't control your emotions. You can't play politically. No. I ain't playing your games that got us to where we are today. Eventually, you're going to push people against the wall, and the alpha males are going to stick guns in your faces. And I don't mean that, again, figuratively.
Right.
They're going to come at you with lawsuits. They're going to come at you with saying no. They're going to come at you with stop paying taxes.
You back a dog into a corner, eventually you can get bit.
Yeah, and these are dogs that have bit, and they know what blood tastes like.
Right.
And most of you fucking soft people out there don't. And I'm not claiming that I went to war, but there's just this, Trump is fat. He's fat. And I don't think he works out. He eats McDonald's. But Trump had bullets fly into his face, and he got up and said, fight. Fight. That's an instinct, bro.
Yeah.
I have
teach
that. I have that. And I hope that I can inspire other people to have that, to fight for their country, to fight for your family, to fight for your neighbor, to fight for the people in your ecosystem, to help them make more money. And if you do that, you're going to have everything that you ever desired and dreamed to have.
Right.
And what disappoints me is people in my ecosystem now and in the past don't understand that that's my mission. They get caught up on every fucking word that I say.
Right.
That
sounds familiar.
Insults them.
That sounds very familiar.
They get hung up on every word that I say. I'll have people text me randomly. You said this? Wow, dude, you took that the wrong way, man. I cannot believe you took it that way.
But at the same time, you've also done a tremendous amount of good in the last couple of years.
A ton of good.
And I'd venture to say this is just scratch on the surface of what's to come.
It's a total blip on a map. And I don't want to speak negatively here, but I'm a guy who's a perfectionist. Those people that I let slip through the cracks who now dislike Ryan, that's a failure in my book.
Yeah, you're going to go back to it.
Those people can win. I love you. If I had fallen out with you, I don't hate you. Come back to me and apologize and realize that you interpreted me wrong or the situation wrong.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. Come back to me with your tail tucked between your legs and really wanting to listen to your blind spots and how you can win. And again, if you don't think I'm right and you hate me and you think I'm a bad person, again, move on. That's all good too. But I'm here to help. And my ecosystem's here to help. You're here to help. Matt's here to help. My wife's here to help. And we're all going to win together.
Totally. Building the community.
Building a real
Not just
community.
talking about it, but you're building it.
And it's not easy.
No.
It's a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of time.
If
But
it
I'm
was
willing to do
easy,
it.
would you do it? Probably not.
It's not about easy or not easy for me. It's just like what I'm pulled to do.
Right.
You're put here on this earth to do certain things.
But the most worthwhile things are generally not the easy things.
That's for damn sure.
That last round of wood was good. It's finally getting warm. So I'll use some helicopter lingo. Let's bring it in for a landing, right? You always, and you tried to skip out on my podcast with you on this one, but I'm going to ask you because it's my favorite question that you did. You've done a lot to help local businesses, and you and I share that same sentiment that we want to support the people in our communities and our backyards that share the same values, but also just live in the same neighborhoods as we do, send the kids to the same schools. And
you and I do.
I discussed this with Kelly before while you were inside relieving yourself, and typically you say give us 2 or 3.
Relieving myself sounds sexual.
But, well, maybe it was. You were gone a while.
I'm just being.
And you did say you're a sexual person. So whatever you need to do.
I just think women are hot.
in the garage
I
is
love my
fine.
wife, but like there are beautiful women out there.
Usually you ask for 2 or 3. I would like no fewer than 10 shout outs to local businesses that you support and you
easy.
want to show some love to. And if it's easy, we'll make it a higher number. It's up to you. I'm giving you no ceiling, my friend.
I don't want to just do it as business owners. I want to do it as people who have made an impact on my life.
I love it. Do you want me to keep track, or should I just assume you're going to be honest because you're an honest guy?
I can't count, even though I'm in finance. I'm more of a concept.
Big Matt's here. He'll keep track.
Numbers guy. But first and foremost, my wife, who is a rock and supportive. When I said, hey, I'm going to North Carolina, I don't say this like I smashed my wife and I'm like, you don't have any say, but like I'm going, and she knows that there's no taking me off that.
She also knows what it means.
She's going to sit here and take care of my kids, and I have a confidence that my kids are here safe, unless her and Dami are drinking too much wine early, right? I know that my kids are taken care of. They're fed. They're going to bed. They're in a good, safe, warm home, and they have clothes on their back every day. She's also there to allow me to bounce off of the things that upset me. There's a lot of things that upset me, man. It fucking upsets me. It hurts my feelings. I am human. Yes, I have thick skin. Yes, things can bounce off me. Things hurt my feelings, and it gets my brain going. I'm like, why the fuck do they think that of me? What the fuck? And I am an influencer, and I do have people talking shit. The guy I don't know, I don't really care about.
Right.
Like, you're somebody I can troll and have fun with, you idiot. But the person I do know that starts to, like, feel a certain way because of their own insecurities, emotions, or their interpretation of a situation, Kelly's my rock to go to for all of those things, and the love of my life. So I got to give a shout out to Kelly. My children, they motivate me. They frustrate the shit out of me, but they teach me more and more patience every day and love.
Well, it's like looking in a mirror. You see all your best traits and you see all your flaws in them, and much louder.
I remember saying about my dad, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, and I'm doing it. We'll fix it, right? So my children, Colton and Wesley. Wesley's a savage. Colton's a sweet boy.
Wesley's you.
Yeah, she is. Scary. Female version. Whoever marries her is fucked. Just from a partnership, employees. Big Matty is constantly there. He's angry at times that he's there because we have him do a lot. But he's always patient. He's kind. He's understanding. He is there to show up at all times of the night, and he has his family, and he does a lot with them. He creates a lot of memories with them. He spends a lot of time with them, and it's important to me to allow him to continue to do that and make sure he's making the money to do that. And at times we don't. At times Matty, is getting the short end. I have a renewal business, so money comes in, and Matt is sitting there without a paycheck for the week because we didn't have new sales that week. And he's been on that team. He's been loyal. He believes in me and the mission, and I can't say enough of great things about Matt. Again, I mentioned Trevor West Properties, Dami, his wife. They're like a brother and sister to Kelly and I now. And they're 10 years younger than us, but Trevor teaches me a lot.
Trevor's an old soul.
Yeah, he is such an old soul. He's been through so much, man. And, he's so funny. He knows how I operate, and he knows my heart. And, he just has a way of delivering it to me. Ryan, why do you care about that? He's just...
He delivers it to you like a kid brother.
Yeah, he's just
The one who gets it.
But he also respects me at the same time and understands where I'm coming from. He doesn't say you're wrong because he knows I'm not. But it just doesn't affect him the same way. So I can't say enough great things about Dami and Trevor. They're our best of friends. When you go on vacation with people, you really get to know who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
I dislike a lot of people on vacation. I had a great vacation with Brian Jennis and Courtney, who is crazy. I love them too. And maybe Dami and Trevor. And I've went away with a lot of other people in between that I did not like and said, hey, I don't even know if I want to be friends with these people after that. But, can't say enough great things about them too. Sean Ryan from Fins and Pat. Sean more specifically. Sean's a great guy. He's always been a mentor. He challenges me to not be fixated on money. He lives by, his morals and ethics, and I think it's faith-based. Ran a successful business, not just fixated on money. You're looking into buying some of his new franchises. We're going to have them back on to talk about that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
But Sean's been a great human to me. Chris Drake. We sat down and I showed you a calculator today on a situation that you and I are working on. And be honest, how impressive was that calculator?
Your calculator explained everything that I was going to poke a hole in terms of your offering for your client.
And it visually showed it.
Right.
I didn't know any of that till Chris Drake.
Right.
And one day he said, you got to learn this, this, and that. And for 3 weeks straight, I won't lie, I was drinking beers late till 2 a.m. and watching these old school DVD videos of this economist explaining how to utilize the system. And I came back in 3 weeks later, and he goes, that was a high-level conversation, Ryan, so you're actually taking action. And then our relationship kept building and building and building. And why can't you do $1 million a year? I think $1 million a year. At that time when he said that to me 10 times in a row, never thought I could make $1 million.
Yeah.
His challenging of my confrontation mentality, and I still have it to this day. You punch at me, I want to knock you out. I can't help that. I still can't help that to this day. It does not go away in me. That's just instinctively built.
It's never going to. You're just going to get better at managing it.
But he challenged it because he's that same guy, and he showed me the ways to do that. And still to this day, maybe he hears me talk about this. He's like, "Shut up, Ryan, you fucking pussy." My wife and I went down. Was it last October? Yeah. And we sat down at, we had a great day with him. Hung out, had a couple drinks, and we went to dinner. And Ryan, shut the fuck up. You're trying to sell me your coaching. I coach you, right? And he's just always checking me. And I appreciate people who check me. My father-in-law, which is he's a tough guy. He's old school German, He's got a controversial view of the world that's opposite of mine.
Okay.
Like conspiracy theories, he's just don't have time for it. Doesn't mean he doesn't think that it may be true. Don't care. I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm making my money for my family. And we have discussions / arguments weekly.
Right.
But I appreciate him.
But he supports you and he's interested in what you're doing.
he supports me because I'm married to his daughter. And I get that, and I'll do the same for whoever marries Wesley. So I appreciate Jim and Sue very much, and relationships with in-laws are not always easy, like whoever you are. But I think at the bottom of their heart, they're I know they're good people, and I appreciate them, and especially my relationship I have with Jim. How many is that? I really can go on all the time. Like,
7, 8. What about some businesses? What businesses do you love in town?
There's a ton of businesses.
You just moved to Wall. Have you found anything since
I'm
you
not
moved
done
over
with
here?
Mike Marino.
Okay.
Mike Marino
Shout out Mike.
is my partner in my business. I own WCC, which is a DBA, doing business as, inside of a financial firm, which is Integrated Financial Concepts. So Mike and I are essentially partners. I can put my business anywhere in the country. I'm a very big producer, and Mike has believed in me. He's shown up. I can have drinks with him, smoke cigars, have coffees, and Mike lets me be me. He doesn't try to make me someone I'm not. He knows I'm crazy as fuck. And Mike and Debbie are good people. They're genuine souls. Mike's very successful. He's done very well for himself. What he's accumulated in wealth, I don't know, but you would never know. He wears he's so down to earth. Like he shops at like Nordstrom Rack for like the cheap slip-ons, and we both end up in the airport together going to a trip with like the $20 slip-ons that look nice. Like Mike's a genuine dude, and he's you've talked to him.
Yeah, Mike's a great dude.
Yeah, he's good people, and I appreciate him. I can go work anywhere for more money than I'm paid in the sense of compensation percentage-wise, and I'm loyal to Mike because of all the things he's done for me. Business-wise, dude, the business owners are just everybody in the pit, number one, and especially the people who have been there, throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
Nick Brakansky from Hidden Valley, Nick Vasili. Nick drives me fucking insane. Like, I could not hang out with him every day just because he's just so fast-paced, and he's just constantly thinking, as well as...
Well, you see a little bit of yourself in that, too.
I do, but I know how to tone it back.
He doesn't tone it back.
No, holy shit, he's just on fire all the time, and that's why he knows so much. He's running multiple businesses right now, and as am I, but I have operators in them. Like,
he's just doing it.
He's doing the work. Like, he's going out and making cold calls. I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot? Like, delegate. Him and his wife are such great people. They're a great pillar in the community. Can't say enough great things. He helps everybody. Yourself, and we gave you a lot of love on your podcast, but your generosity has been great. I've worked some great cases with you that have been detrimental to me, landing this house even this year alone. And I appreciate that. You could do business with any guy who works in the tax and insurance space, and you've chose me, and I appreciate that. The businesses I love in the area, I'm not saying so much we've done, close business together, but I love Joe Leone's. I think Joe's a guy.
Community guy.
Yeah, he's just community, man. Like, that business is successful, not because he has the best Italian food. I'm not saying he doesn't.
It's got good Italian food.
His food's delicious, but...
You don't have to go over the bridge to get it anymore now. That's good.
Yeah, and again, I never worked for him. I'm sure he's got flaws. But to observe how he moves is inspiring, and he's also a guy that's always stepping up in a charitable capacity. He's
community guy.
Yeah, he's getting together a 56-foot trailer and sending goods down North Carolina right now.
He's trying to one-up you now.
I think he saw my podcast. I don't want to say anything, Joe. You probably saw that I did it first. Right. No, but Joe has always been a really good guy. Good friends with my Uncle Val Ferrolo. Again, Finn's, Bubba Paul. Paul's another misunderstood guy. He's got a heart of gold. I've had drinks with Paul to the point he's in tears, and maybe Paul will be mad that I shared that. Maybe he doesn't remember it. And then I know sober Paul.
Right.
Paul doesn't drink anymore, and I don't think that because he had any major problem. He just said,
made a decision.
Yeah, I don't need it anymore. It's just not the mission I'm on anymore, and I want to focus on my girls and my family and loving on them. And I've made mistakes because I've hustled business and been worried about the party or having fun and being important, and I've seen him, really mature, and he's always willing to give me a chance. Bubba Coos is a big brand. I mean, they're they're growing at rapid rates. They're named.
When you build something at that scale and that pace, there's bound to be collateral damage.
Oh,
And at some point, you have to check that.
Yeah, and he admits, like, there's imperfections. There's been bad franchises launched. Like, he says all that, and he tries to correct it. His whole team tries to correct it. And, being able to have very close access to him and what he's doing, and he shares more than he maybe has to, I appreciate him a lot for that. And he's my friend, and I appreciate them, and I'm glad him and his family's safe after the hurricane. Who's another great business in town?
Colonial and Dutch Hill.
Yeah, Colonial Market.
Yeah, Lenny's is great.
Their dad started that business, and I never met their dad. Sadly, he passed away of, I think, a heart attack.
And they were unexpectedly handed this business, and
Young.
you know what the success rates of that look like, and this place is booming, and they do tremendous work.
But that's a hard thing to take on at a young age. Like, they are so busy over there with it's multifaceted. Catering, prepared food, butcher, grocery, bakery, deli. Like, dude, they got a lot going on.
A lot of employees, a lot of inventory management. It's not easy.
It's not easy. It is not easy. And recently, we've been very lucky to be awarded their payment system.
Really?
Yeah.
Congrats, that's huge.
Yeah, they have a big business. They work extremely hard on small margins in food to earn a living and take care of a few families that's in the family.
Patriots should be able to help them increase those margins a little bit.
A lot of people look at businesses and they're like, oh, like, that place is busy. Oh, they're raking in the money. Like, dude, no. Dude, you got workman's comp. You got employees. You got payroll. You got 401ks. Like, dude, things are expensive, especially as a small business owner. So to earn their business, was really something that was important to me, because I think those guys are really good-hearted dudes, and they work really, really hard to continue their dad's legacy.
You feel that every time you walk in there.
Yeah, they love it.
It keeps me going back, and it's not convenient to get to.
They love it. Another butcher I got to give love to, who's a veteran, and I'm a big fan of veterans who stand up for freedom. I'm about freedom. Is Matt and his wife over there at Dutch Hill.
Matt and Michelle are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, talk about dedication to food and country. I mean, those two just almost died in a car accident on Point Pleasant Bridge. And I don't say that laughing, but I laugh because, like,
that's
Matt's
factual, and he was back at work 2 days later.
He's a psychopath. That guy is like an animal. Like, we came in and his eyes are all jacked up. I'm like, Matt, like, you're uglier than you were before. What happened? Well, my eyelids just got ripped off when I got flipped out of the car. What? What do you mean you got flipped out of the car? What happened?
My steak could wait.
Yeah. Like, why did you come back to work on Wednesday? This is a dedicated small business owner. He knows that he don't get paid and he don't pay his bills.
Right.
If he doesn't show up, and he's got some really quality food over there. He kills his chicken Sunday and they're in the fridge by Wednesday. And I love Colonial's chicken just as good. I mean, no one's better than the other, but shout out to him. Veteran-owned business. Fratello's, Chris DeCrease has always believed in me. Gave me his business young when I was a nobody. You're an old soul and you want to hang out in a dark bar and have some decent Italian food and drink, go over to Fratello's in Seagirt. Chris puts his heart in it. He changes the season of holidays every single holiday, Halloween, Christmas. He's put his heart and soul into that place. And I call him a friend. He's a great dude. Who else in the area? I mean, dude, I have so many clients and friends that it's just, I can go on forever and ever. Who's some other ones I got to give love to? Is there anybody I'm forgetting, Kel? Good people. I mean, there's so many. It's so many. It's so hard. There's really so many.
Every coffee shop that you frequented to build your business out over the last 20 years.
Shack, Charlie's,
Beach Shack,
all the time. Like,
Matt Rega, that little motherfucker. I love that guy.
He's not so little, he's jacked.
He thinks he's jacked. I'll choke him out.
Remember we saw him at Charlie's. It was like showing you his new six-pack that he just got.
Yeah, he loves it. He's an animal. He's a great guy. And the other day, shout out to Matt Rega. During one of my slapback at haters locally, I put up this post like, I'm 50 steps ahead of you clowns, and you all fucking say some shit about me. That's not true. And Matt Rega got on there, was like, Matt Rega was challenged with some challenges in his life, and I'll leave it at that. And he could share more of that story when he's ready to. But he came to me at a moment I didn't know him that well. I knew him, and I just felt something in his heart, and I did something for him that really was impactful to him, as well as continued to stay in his ear to do the right thing. And he got on that Facebook post and was like, he
Went to bat for you.
Yeah, he went to bat for me.
Yeah, I saw it.
And I like people like that. Matt,
That's what happens when you do the right thing.
Yeah, Matt's a real fuck. Beach Shack is a good business. And I think Matt's so much bigger than Beach Shack. And I believe in him and where he's going. Who else did you say, Cal?
I said Charlie's.
Yeah, Charlie's Bayhead has been awesome for my business. I mean, I don't care if it's $20,000 Christmas party, which that's what it cost me.
We're going to have another one this year, right?
We're going to have another one. We're trying to
details coming soon.
Literally text, the big Chuckster over there. Chuck's running the show, and I spoke to Corey, the GM, who is just so good to Kelly and I. Anytime we have a client or friend in town, they get us a table last minute. I can't say enough great things about Charlie. Their food, their bartenders, their waiter, waitresses. Everything about it is a great atmosphere, and during Christmas it is literally...
There's no better place to go.
It's Christmas, wonderland. I think at some point, I don't want to share too much, but I think they spent like $250,000 on...
It looks every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. If you've never been to Charlie's, you should go there all the time, but during Christmas it's amazing, and they're very accepting of me. I'm a little wild, especially with some drinks in me. I by no means am an alcoholic, but when I'm ready to let loose, I let loose, and that's a pretty,
it's a safe space.
Yeah, but it's an upper class bar, and they let Ryan be Ryan, Sometimes I walk in with a hat on, they're not really love hats, but they let me be me, and they've always done my parties for WCC and Fireside, top notch, white glove service. DV Tree, Joe and Malin, early on I did the coffee meetups. They were great to me. Port Coffee, I don't go there much anymore, but we were doing the coffee meetups last year. We had 15, 20 guys out on their bench. Like that, maybe that deters other customers. They had us there.
Turnstile had us there as well.
Turnstile as well. That owner
Offshore.
Mike was a great guy. Offshore. Yeah, we got too big for all of them, which is a blessing, man. It's not a bad thing. I don't hate on any of them for not wanting us there every week. It's a lot.
You can't be my only customer. It's really what it came down to.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's good business.
Dude, I forget. There's so many.
You've given me more than 10. I'll accept this answer.
Yeah, there's so many though, dude. There's so many friends and family and clients. I mean, even clients. Chuck Reed and Kelly Wilson, they're so good to me. They believed in me young. I mean, they give me a large amount of money on an annual basis. I was a young, reckless kid, and they're great friends of Kelly and I's. And just so many people who believed in me young, and now they have saw it through, and what I told them would happen for them in their lives have come to fruition, and it's all really rewarding. And I don't want to stop yet. Just friends, real friends. Bill Newman is my friend forever, and Bill will never see this podcast because he has some of the highest clearance in the country, and he stays off of social media probably because he knows way more than we do.
It's probably the right idea.
But him and I get together, and it's like we don't miss a fucking beat, dude. It could be 3 years, and
those are the best friends.
Yeah, and he's been so supportive of me. The last time he was just here, which was a few weeks ago, funny as shit. He's here for a wedding. I'm coming by. The guy, he's like, Ryan, are you majorly in debt? How much fucking money do you make? He's a government employee, and Bill works extremely hard, and I'm not downplaying on his income or what he does, but I'm like, no, Bill, I make X, Y, and Z, and I got these companies. What the fuck? You're an idiot. How'd you make this much money? And it's just true friendship. That is fun to me. Don Salafia, great friend of mine, always has my back, always believes in the mission I'm going. Chris Carbone, early on I was young. He gave me this Fruit Loop credit card that had like a $200 limit on it. I was broke as shit, kicked out of high school, and we were delivering cakes. I don't forget that. Bobby Ryan lent me his car when I was younger. Dante and all those kids who were my friends in Brick that, gave me love, but also gave me enough hate to go win. Dude, it's endless. There's so many people who have helped me. That's why, the negative we talked about for, a good 30 minutes, I want to make sure that I spend more time talking about all of the positive relationships that I have. All the guys in my firm, Mike Gorman.
Shout out Mike Gorman.
Mike Gorman is crazy as fuck, and he's a liberal fuck. But he is such a good human, man. He is the smartest fucking guy I know. Only him and his friend can beat Exxon and Chevron out from underneath the nose of them to steal an exploratory drill and then get like OPEC money. Like, and like, dude, these guys are on the next level. And Mike Gorman will pick up my phone call for any client any day, and he's probably the most sophisticated. Like $100 million client is like his like small client, and he picks up Ryan Robbins' phone call anytime I call, and I feel good about that. You know, Vic Muro, another ex-partner in my firm. He's retired now. Jim Hortenzio. So many people that just continued to believe in me, and I know I've been rambling in these last points, but there's been so many people that have been good to me, and I truly am thankful. And for those guys I named that are in this business, just want them to know that I'm also going to be bigger than all of them, and I hope that they're happy about that.
If you mention them now, you saying that is not going to be a surprise to them.
Yeah, I know they know that.
They know who Ryan is.
Yeah, I'm coming for all
And they're also
going to
fight back.
And they can keep fighting back. But you know, they I think when you have a real abundance thought process, which is like removing your own ego. Like Trump, I think battles with this. Right? He doesn't want anybody to like outshine the master.
Of course.
If someone outshines me and I'm making money and still living the life I live, I don't give a fuck. If you're operating in the confines of my boundaries, I don't care. I'd put you forward. I'm like Homer Simpson. Let me sink into the bushes. Let me hide. Because when I get out front, I actually don't want to be out front. I don't. It's uncomfortable. It's putting your neck out there. It's creating feedback that you don't necessarily always want to hear.
Not solicited.
Yeah, you don't want it. So if someone else wants to step up in my realm and take that, and I can take the back seat, I'm all about it. So this has been fun. It's been a long time coming. I hope I've been able to really give people a better picture of who I am and where I'm going. And I could go so much more detail on business and finance and what we do. And
I think you did, but we'll save that for episode 200.
yeah,
You can come on every 100 episodes or so and drop a little knowledge.
yeah,
Share some love, share some conspiracies. It's all good.
a lot of us can sniff our own farts, and I've been really putting this off for a long time for the right person. And I think you had some really well thought out, pointed questions, actually making me question that maybe I should do a better job of prepping, because I don't prep for anybody. Like literally, I just come up with the questions as I talk.
Well, considering I wasn't planning on doing this tonight because of a complete screw up on my part, I'm glad it worked out and you feel happy about it. So
Yes.
It's been awesome. I'm glad we were able to do it.
You did a great job. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
To you.